but an interception that basically ended the game for the Jets. Tyler Bass, the kicker for Buffalo, hit a 22-yard field goal. That was the only scoring of the fourth quarter to break a 20-20 tie. Buffalo's now 4-2 with the win. Jets dropped to 2-4 with the loss in their first game since the firing of head coach Robert Saleh. Postseason baseball, Game 2 National League Championship Series. Mets down the Dodgers 7-3. New York scored 5 runs in the second inning, including a Matt Viatos grand slam home run. Francisco Lindor had a solo shot as well. That series is tied at 1-1. Game 1 ALCS, Yankees beat the Guardians 5-2. New York scored 3 runs in the third inning. Juan Soto and Giancarlo Stanton had solo homers. I'm Eddie Garcia.
The Connor Happer Show.
I sneer at the idea of Dylan Raiola playing in the Detroit Poop Bowl. Dylan Raiola can't play in that bowl game. Dylan Raiola cannot play in a game in a season in which he's fighting for bowl eligibility. That is not what we're doing here. He says, I don't play in Detroit.
I think he would actually love playing in Detroit.
No, he wouldn't.
A city where his father played.
No. I forgot about that part.
The Connor Happer Show. Weekdays from 10 to 2 on 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast presented by Bellevue Berry and Pumpkin Ranch from the KETV Newswatch 7 Weather Center on 1620 The Zone.
Sunny and cool for your Tuesday afternoon with a high today in Omaha of 57. Winds become a bit breezy at times early this afternoon with gusts out of the northeast up to 15 miles an hour. Clear and cold tonight, a low of 30 in Omaha with a freeze warning for eastern Nebraska and western Iowa into Wednesday morning. High tomorrow, 64 with high fire danger in the afternoon. I'm meteorologist Caitlin Harvey with KETV Newswatch 7.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Pyramid Roofing Time-Saving Traffic Center. Good morning. Hope your Tuesday's off to a great start today. A few lane closures in the early hours here from overnight road work still going into early this morning. I-80 eastbound 42nd Street exit closed right now. Westbound Dodge from 156th to 168th, the right lane is closed and the exit to 168th also closed. And eastbound Dodge from 69th, the left lane closed as well. As things change, I'll get you updated. Just stay safe and wear that seatbelt. I'm Peter Krenzer. This time-saving traffic is brought to you by Fernando's.
Howdy you taco, street style, crispy corn, fried or soft shell. For a limited time, Fernando's has our famous taco basket with 3 tacos for only $10. Available all day, every day. Come get your Fernando's fix. Dine in only, not valid with other offers. FernandosOmaha.com.
Car repair is car repair. Most places you go can change your oil or fix your brakes. The difference is the experience you'll get at Omaha Car Care. We're part of the community. We were born here, and we believe that our relationship with you should be built to last. We're going to consult you, not sell you. We're going to give you a free loaner car. We're going to treat you like a valued friend that we want to continue to see in the years to come. I'm Rick Betker, owner of Omaha Car Care, and we'll be along for the ride.
It's time for you to shop Acura of Omaha and get financing from 3.9% APR for up to 60 months or choose special lease offers. More than 100 new Acuras to choose from. Always open at AcuraofOmaha.com.
Velocity Clinical Research in Omaha conducts clinical trials for investigational treatments and research. Typical studies involve medications for high cholesterol, diabetes, infectious diseases, and acne. Some current studies include low T, RSV, fall influenza, pediatric obesity ages 12 to 17, adult obesity, and asthma. Velocity also performs vaccine studies. Studies are medically supervised and do not require insurance. Velocity recognizes your time is valuable, so they offer compensation for study-related time and travel. Find out more at velocityclinicaltrials.com.
Hi, I'm Mike Young with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. Week 6 wrapped up Monday night with the Bills defeating the Jets 23-20. Josh Allen threw for 215 yards and 2 touchdowns, leading the Bills to their 4th win of the season, while Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, they fell to 2-4. They've now lost 3 straight games. In Detroit, NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport is reporting that Aiden Hutchinson is officially out for the season after suffering a broken tibia and fibula during the Lions' Week 6 win against the Cowboys. The star defensive end underwent successful surgery on Sunday night, but there is currently no timetable for a return. Some other injury news to get to. The Commanders, their head coach, Dan Quinn, has confirmed that Jonathan Allen suffered a torn pectoral muscle during Washington's Week 6 loss to the Ravens. The star defensive end is going to miss the remainder of the year. This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
All right, gentlemen, this is Emmett Smith on behalf of Depend, and I've got the perfect play. Run straight to your doctor's office for a life-changing catch. Because when prostate cancer is caught early, it's up to 99% treatable, and one blood test might be all it takes. And now through November, Depend is donating to the Prostate Cancer Foundation for select purchases. Talk about a great play.
From September 1st to November 30th, Depend is donating 40 cents to the Prostate Cancer Foundation for Depend Shield Guards Real Fit products purchased in the U.S. up to a maximum of $300,000 void in Mississippi.
All right, when it comes to getting life insurance for your family, a lot of excuses can get in the way. But ask yourself this: if something were to happen to me, who would pay the mortgage, the kids' education, and the other bills? Then forget the excuses and check out Ethos Life, the online, easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes. Ethos has rates that you can afford, like a $500,000 policy for a 40-year-old male starting at $1 a day or $30 a month, with a few health questions and no medical exam. Get your free quote right now at checkethos.com. That's checkethos.com. Not available in all states. Rates do.
An estimated 80% of Americans aren't getting their recommended daily amount of physical activity. It's time to move and keep moving, America. And when you need help, physical therapists and physical therapist assistants are by your side. Be your own champion. Choose more movement. Choose better health. Choose physical therapy. Find out more information and a physical therapist at choosept.com/NE. Brought to you by the American Physical Therapy Association of Nebraska.
Omaha Maverick hockey is off to a fast start, capturing the Icebreaker Championship in Las Vegas with wins over number 5 Minnesota and number 14 UMass. The 12th-ranked Mavericks open up home regular season play Friday and Saturday night at Baxter Arena as they take on the Augustana Vikings. Also on Saturday at the Baxter, Maverick volleyball plays Oral Roberts at noon, and men's soccer plays Oral Roberts at 4 at Caniglia Field. Get your tickets now by calling 402-554-MAVS or by going to omavs.com/tics.
Did you know every 3 seconds someone is a victim of identity theft? LifeLock wants to give you helpful tips to protect your identity this Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Adding multi-factor authentication, like a text with a security code, is one way to boost your security. But for comprehensive protection, trust LifeLock. LifeLock alerts you to suspicious uses of your personal info and steps in to resolve issues that arise, guaranteed or your money back. Protect yourself with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com. Use promo code NEWS. Terms apply.
1620 The Zone.
Back to pass. Pocket collapsing. Allen squirts away from it. Throws to the end zone. And it's caught for a touchdown. Dawson Knox with the 12-yard touchdown reception. He caught it in the end zone on his way back to Allen, who scrambled out to the left to buy time.
It's 2-2. Diaz sets. Here's the pitch. Swung on and missed. Strike 3. Put it in the books. He finally went to the slider, strikes out Freeman, and the Mets have evened up the National League Championship Series at 1 game apiece.
We just practiced. It was excellent. So hopefully it benefits us, because we got 6 ball games left. We got, 3 and then another bye. And this is as big a game as we've ever probably played in terms of, the stakes and, all the things that get people excited on the road, ranked team, best offense, probably that we faced, one of the best that we'll see. So, I'm sure our guys are focused.
Live from 50th and Capitol Avenue in the Big O. This is Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com, and 1620 The Zone TV. Now here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy.
Hey guys, great to see you.
Hey, good to hear from you too, Coach. Good morning, everybody. Welcome in on a Tuesday. I would like my summer back. It's chilly outside.
It'll be warm next couple days.
Not going to complain. I'm going to complain.
I just had to check if there's still shorts on.
Oh,
I did. I relinquished to the pants
time.
yesterday, but then I went back to the shorts.
Yeah. Thursday, Friday, you should have decent weather for football.
I did see that. Somebody told me that there could be severe weather this weekend.
Where? Really? Here?
Were they listening to Fearmonger?
I don't know what to believe anymore. Just listen to the forecast and just roll with it.
70 and sunny.
Does something seem off with Matt Rule?
Seems happy.
No, he doesn't.
It's kind of the
there's something
seem terse.
I don't know. There's just and I don't know. Listened to him yesterday, and he a lot of the same stuff, and it's off a bye week, so there's really no new questions to be asked, except for we got better during the bye week.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like post-Purdue, like the post-Purdue post-game through Rutgers pre, Rutgers post, Monday after Rutgers, and then yesterday, something seems off. I don't know if it's, the season and trying to figure things out and grind through it and what's ahead and balance the excitement with, man, we could get better. I don't know, just yesterday just seemed off.
I'm jiving with you on a couple of things. And I've going back to post Illinois, and I've noticed this more on Thursdays and maybe that's just because, they're at the end of the preparation for the weekend where he seems, I don't know if I want to say agitated, but maybe that's the best way I could describe it. And
that's a good way to describe it, because I will tell you, he was, there were some things that were said or asked that he was not happy with, and he kind of let it out after Purdue.
Yesterday, I don't know. Yesterday, I didn't get it as much, though. I'll be honest. So I didn't notice it as much. Before it came on, though, I did find the whole, it's like we practiced yesterday or we practiced today. Everybody's in a good mood, which was excellent. And it just reminded me of in old school, we went to the Olive Garden last night, which was lovely. But yesterday, it seemed, I wouldn't say confident, but I wouldn't say overwhelmed. Like the agitation I've noticed in the Thursdays,
chip on our shoulder.
And I don't, again, that might just be you're building up, you're getting a little bit, it's like, hey, let's get in and out. Ask me the questions you want so we can get back and put the final touches on this thing.
Watch, he was just hungry.
But I noticed when he was asked about the Mazuka thing,
which he hates.
You could tell, you could tell
that.
Did not like that. I noticed yesterday when he was asked the question about the transfers. And he brought up, well, I don't want to run kids off, but I came from the NFL. Other coaches that came from other places, probably a little bit more commonplace. If it happened to me again where I was coming from a college, maybe I would change that. But when he mentioned, I think we do things right with the transfers. Again, he mentioned 2 guys, and that was it. I don't know if it's the season itself or if it's sort of that malaise of getting a lot of the questions, but where he anticipates a lot of those questions too.
There's the part of like, it's, we all said, hey, the bye week came at a good time because, Nebraska needed it. They'd played 6 games, schedule works out pretty well. I think for the general vibe, it's the worst thing that happened because now this is the people I interact with and I listen to, and no one's, 5-1 is 5-1. You're not going to run from that at all. But you have to kind of think, man, Nebraska could be 6-0 and they could be sitting inside the top 15 right now. And people are talking about Nebraska. There is really nobody talking nationally about Nebraska.
No.
It has disappeared since the Illinois game. Granted, it was Purdue and Rutgers, and it's not like a marquee game. And there was a lot of stuff the last 3 weekends in college football that more people talked about. But I just get the general feeling is the vibe, if you're looking at this team, again, they're 5-1. Never going to complain about being 5-1. The vibe changed more after Rutgers than it did after Illinois.
See, I don't know if I see that. I don't look at the vibe, just the overall.
Look at your opinion, or not your opinion, but opinions on Dylan Raiola. I listened to this radio station yesterday, and there were people like, I don't know about Dylan.
Really? See, I
don't know about him. Post Illinois, the guy was dealing, almost won the game for you.
I think that's crazy.
Post Rutgers, you're like, I don't know.
I think that's crazy.
I don't it's my observation on the vibe of the opinion of Nebraska is different post Illinois compared to post Rutgers. That Rutgers was a 14-7 game, and if you just stop there, I can't help you. You got to look inside of the game on all 3 phases, and it may be we are a little bruised by bad special teams around here, so that changes your outlook on how the game's going to be played on Saturday against a team that hasn't missed a field goal and is really, really well coached and attention to detail is a big thing at IU right now.
Right.
Maybe that's just listening to Rule yesterday, interacting with our listeners. It's I don't know. It's just a weird. Maybe it's because we've had time off since the last game and we're looking for things to talk about. That's just my read on things. Doesn't change how I think Saturday's going to play out. It's just my observation, 4 or 5 days before, what is a big, big game for both programs.
Okay, and I misunderstood you a little bit there on how the overall local vibe is with Nebraska after win. No, you're right, because everything that went wrong in the Illinois game, none of that was on 15. Despite what was a great defensive performance, 15 finally had a true freshman type of game. You know, there were mistakes made, which didn't we all, though, do this at the beginning of the season of there's going to be some moments where you're just like, yep, this guy is different, but we have to remember he's a true freshman. Going to have those true freshman moments too. Up against
remind everybody. Tell the chodes in the back about that.
Well, it's true.
Let's speak it a little bit louder.
All right.
I mean, you're awful quiet over there. Speak it a little bit louder for the people that, hey, man, the kid's a freshman. He's great. He's going to be great, but he's going to have those moments. It happened. You know what? It happened in a game that Nebraska won.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Exactly.
Winning.
And
Aaron Rodgers, would you like to win? Yes.
And let's not forget, and that's the part about how we compartmentalize a lot of what we see to fit the narrative of what our overall anxiety with the team is. And this is where I think, because you just said the one thing that I think it's universal, it's justified, and it's what holds people back from saying 8, 9 wins right now as opposed to 7, 6 special teams. But we let that bleed into any other unsteady, shaky performance from people that we, to this point, have relied on and thought are pretty good. Dylan Raiola, unfortunately, from people who have any issue with Dylan's performance in that game, it's not based on just his performance. It's based on what was really sloppy special teams play. And, of course, he throws a bad interception.
I guess the question is, who has impacted the vibe of Nebraska football more right now? Greg Schiano, Brett Bielema, or Ed Foley?
Ed Foley. It's true. And thank you for, okay.
Because you're going to play a team that Indiana's good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you think about Indiana. Indiana is good. Okay. They're 6-0. Are they great? We're about to find out.
Yep.
But they're a good football team. Okay. And they have hit the mother load with the schedule, the addition of players that are familiar with the schemes.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? They got some dudes. They also have some deficiencies. And they've been able to avoid being exposed because they haven't played teams that have, exposed them. So they're good. But it probably a little bit of you're playing a team that kind of does things that you'd like to do.
That's fair.
Both teams have a really good quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Both teams have schemes in the offense for passing and wide receivers. And what is the difference right now is that you're going to play a team that on the third phase, some might say it's the first, Coach Osborne, is they're pretty well buttoned up. And that's what's in Nebraska's way right now. And your lasting memory is one for a guy that is a current place kicker, 1 for 5. The team is 4 of 9. I mean, this is where special teams are at Nebraska. Did anybody bring this up? That it is the craziest award that's ever been given out if you consider the factors. Nebraska had the special teams player of the week last week in a game in which he had 2 punts blocked.
Yeah.
Okay. Just think about that.
Right. And he just got a black shirt too. This quarterback thing though, it does bug me because everybody that has looked at Dylan Raiola, that was excited about Dylan Raiola, national, local fans, all told themselves the same thing. And it's amazing that in a game where you have a defensive-minded head coach that had seen 5 previous games of Dylan Raiola and things that he knew he could do to throw at Dylan Raiola that maybe he hadn't seen before and see how he would respond, that isn't that the freshman moments? Isn't that the the setting for, okay, you might have some confusion that on certain drives series, you don't look like you had the previous 5 games, but let's not forget what he was able to engineer right before halftime, too. The good things with
He had
that.
a bad day at the office and they won. I'm
exactly.
I'm not going to overthink this. Yeah. Okay?
People should not overthink that. That's where then everyone wants to get into the, well, is he putting too much air on the ball? Then we start to overanalyze things. My eyes tell me.
You're smart enough. I mean, there's things that he is doing that are not, that have to be corrected.
Sure.
And I think there are things that he doesn't do well that Nebraska has pivoted away from. Be curious if they go back, but the deep ball is a problem. He has underthrown the deep ball, and Nebraska needs to have that as an element of their offense because they have wide receivers that can get down the field and they have a quarterback with a big arm, but why are things being underthrown? So I think it's also fair to go, okay, there's some things that we got to reassess and work on.
Yeah. And that's, again, part of his process of getting better, but the decisions he makes, the throws that he does make, especially the intermediate passing game, the things that we needed Dylan Raiola to do this season when it came to simple pitch and catch, when it came to the basic passing game, for this offense to take a step forward. For the most part, he's done that.
Yeah, so I think it'll be, Nick, something you just said, the second half of the year, and listen, he's going to break Adrian Martinez's freshman passing record. I know it's only like a little over 2,600 yards. That's still a big deal. Will Dylan Raiola help Marcus Satterfield, or will Marcus Satterfield help Dylan Raiola in the second half of the season?
That's a great question. I'm going to say that the combination of Marcus Satterfield.
No, you can't have a combo. I mean, we're 3 weeks from today, Nick. You're going to go to the polling place. You can't go both.
Don't worry about that.
Whoa! Hey, Nick has just let us know where he stands.
You ain't got to worry about that,
in
my
his
friend.
Political belief. Has anybody stolen that sign out of your yard yet? A lot of people in this town are stealing political signs.
Are they stealing the dots?
They're the blues or the reds. A lot of people are stealing them or defaming them.
I saw the Pac-Man one too. There's a lot of dots and fun little plays on dots too. Not
to be confused.
How about that? 3 weeks from today, we get to do something that we should never take for granted. We get to vote.
I'm going to put
in person, or you maybe have already voted.
I'm going to put my confidence though in Dylan Raiola that he helps Marcus.
Oh, I thought we were continuing with the political.
That's what I thought. I was like, I don't know.
Where'd you go there? That was a pivot.
I snuck out of there. I ran the red light there. Sorry, man. But yeah, no, I still.
A lot of blue dots in Bennington, I see.
Really?
Yeah, every football Friday. Thank you. There
it is. Yes.
Sorry, a little slow.
No, may we get back there?
You go. Your name's on this show. Take it away.
Oh gosh, I've been getting those texts every day now. I'm just going to get even more now of the political ads.
Yeah, my mailbox looks like my email box.
Yeah, I feel for our mail carriers on that.
Good luck to everybody, by the way. 3 weeks out.
Yeah, we're getting close. Thank God. But yeah, I still think that this is why I think he's different too. I think that there are things that he can do that even in a bad situation, whether it's because Marcus Satterfield called or not, that I still think Dylan Raiola has that in him. So I'm at the end of the day, I think Dylan Raiola is going to help out Marcus Satterfield. I also like Glenn Thomas in there. I know I can't throw him in there, but I think that's also a key element to this equation.
I don't care who helps out, who helps who. You got to score some points. You got to find a way to score some points. All right, welcome in, everybody. It is a Tuesday, smack dab in the middle of October. You wake up one day, and it's the 15th of October. What the heck? Coming up on the show, Sam McEwen will stop by at 7:30. You know what I learned yesterday? I've known Sam for a long time, and I know Sam professionally. I don't know. Sam and I have never hung out personally, so we don't double date or anything like that.
No.
Sam said yesterday when he's talking to Connor, do you guys know that Sam has a daughter old enough to be dating?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought he had younger kids.
We're buddies on Facebook. This is how I find out things.
Bears fans stick together.
It's not that I sat down with him and we were talking about our family or anything, but yeah, this is how we
at a diner.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. I thought he still had preteens.
Yeah.
So he's got older kids.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Homecoming, some Hoco.
Yeah, he said
pictures,
he told Connor that his daughter is dating a football player.
Yeah.
Like not in Nebraska, but not that I'd be opposed to that.
Right. Well,
but maybe if you're like in high school dating a football player in Nebraska that's not maybe a freshman,
that
might be frowned
weird.
upon.
Yeah, a little bit.
But I didn't
Negative publicity.
I didn't know he had older kids, so that's what I'm going to talk to Sam about coming up at 7:30. Brian
So
Christopherson.
how's homecoming?
So where does his kids go to school? Lincoln Southwest?
That's a good question. I'm not
Strikes
sure
me as a Southwest guy.
I'm not sure which high school in Lincoln. Yeah, that's a good question.
Maybe he's old school. He's in the neighborhood of Lincoln Southeast. Maybe he's hanging out there in the country club neighborhood.
One of the best bands that exists, especially in basketball. Got the drums, got the guitar. It's good stuff.
BCAK, I'll join us. That's part of the lineup brought to you by the Rooferys at John Higgins Weather Guard. Busy day yesterday. If you're a New York sports fan, you're probably on sports overload, sensory overload. Please don't be like the mayor of New York in many ways.
Way to go a lot of directions.
But he was wearing a Yankee. He was wearing the
split.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't do the split.
My man, pick a side.
Where was his Buffalo one at too?
They're
By the way,
upstate
great
New York.
tweet by the Bills. They said great sports night for the city of New York.
I have no idea what football is though. Watching that game, talk about a tale of two halves. The first half and the second half.
Yeah.
The first half was Josh Allen and Aaron Rodgers kind of entertaining. The second half, I just wish that Al Michaels was doing the game.
Oh, the
because
flags?
as much disgust as Joe Buck had, Al Michaels would have been. I mean, they would have put Al Michaels permanently in the Hall of Fame if he was doing the second half of that game last night. But I have no idea what football is. I have no idea what a hold is. I have no idea what a catch is. I have no idea what a penalty is. I think I know what a penalty is. I have no idea what roughing the passer is. A guy on the Buffalo Bills got penalized for playing football last night.
Oh, yeah. Just tackling
Welcome to the NFL. And then afterwards, Aaron Rodgers had to explain why he's 2-4. And at this point last year, Zach Wilson was 3-3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that roughing the passer call, by the way. I thought the exact same thing about Joe Buck. There was that sequence there. I think it was the second or third drive of the fourth quarter where the Jets, Buffalo there were offsetting penalties on one play, but I think it was a 4-play stretch where there was a flag.
Mm-hmm.
And so I immediately thought of Al Michaels. I'm like, wow, Joe Buck still does a pretty good job, despite how disgusting this is, of still mentioning that it's a flag fest, but not like, oh my God, of course there is, like Al Michaels. So I appreciated Joe Buck on that one. And I'll be honest, the first half was kind of a blur because I was still watching Cleveland strike out a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, tuning in for the second half, I kind of wish I would have just didn't watch that because it was awful. That was just bad football.
And then it got to ref makeup call after makeup call after makeup call after makeup call. But we did get a double doink.
Yeah.
I think more goalposts should be mic'd. Outside of Monday Night Football and the Super Bowl.
So
and
I tweeted
playoffs.
this out, though. That was a rattle. That wasn't the boom. That was the something was wrong with that goalpost, man. They need to tighten the
Tell you
screws
what,
or
is something
something.
wrong
It was
is,
rattling.
Fortunately, Greg Zuerlein,
like
Aaron Rodgers didn't like Greg Zuerlein. You go 2 for 4.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna have the Giants and the Jets are going to have tryouts today at MetLife Stadium. To kick in that stadium.
I mean, Coach Rodgers is probably making some calls right now. Maybe Mason Crosby.
Did Coach Rodgers? He was kind of harsh on himself last night. Did he mention that the last interception he underthrew the ball?
No, he did not.
Did not catch that.
No, and
he blamed the receiver.
All right,
for
I'm sorry.
running
There
too
was
far.
this was the NFL Network this morning. They gave Aaron Rodgers, the ball that essentially goes off the defender's butt into Lazard. They were saying only Aaron Rodgers can make that throw. That was a bad throw. Okay, that wasn't like, oh man, he knew that he could skim it off his butt into Alan Lazard's little catch radius that was right there. Come on. At some point, we just got to say it was lucky the defender didn't turn around. That probably would have been intercepted, but because it went off, it was like a trick shot. Like, come on. At some point, it's Aaron Rodgers makes mistakes. He did last night too, but on that completion, like that's just a throw only Aaron Rodgers can make. Oh, really? So the rest of the quarterbacks in the league can't make that throw because theirs would have been intercepted? Come on. Let's stop. Now, the Hail Mary.
We'd like to talk about the Hail Mary throw?
The Hail Mary, he still got it. I'll give him that. The fact that he
Aaron
can
Rodgers,
chuck that thing.
Aaron Rodgers completes more Hail Marys than Catholics.
He's got 4.
Nice.
How many did Catholics
Well
have?
done.
But he did. I mean, that was still got the arm there.
Godspeed to the Jet fan, because the Jets play in Pittsburgh on Sunday night, and that Jets offensive line against the Steelers front seven, that will not be pretty.
But for Steelers fans, you get another week of, well, we're going to see how Russell Wilson is. You know, he might give him a go. Russell Wilson ain't ever playing.
All right, we're often running also news last night. We talk a lot of high school football, high school athletics here in Omaha. Omaha Benson football has canceled the final 2 games of the season, citing low participation numbers. I have some thoughts, and I'm probably going to present something different to y'all that you probably have not thought of. Or if you have, thank you, because I think we're trying to use Omaha Benson for our narrative, and I don't think that's right. So I'll explain that. We'll do that coming up after Jimmy's update at 7. And, of course, more on Nebraska and Indiana. Matt Rule said something yesterday that I think he can't say it out loud, but he kind of did if you listen close enough, about an element of his football team ahead of a big game. Big game where the spread is continuing to grow, as Indiana is nearly a 7 touchdown or 7.
Oh, holy hell.
Excuse me.
No respect for the Huskers whatsoever.
Okay, put the defibrillator away.
You're right. That did grow.
6.5.
I'm hammering the Skurs.
Favorite.
No way Indiana comes
in a big game. And it's cool. It's good. It's good that it's a big game. Nebraska's playing in a big game, and Nebraska is an underdog. Do they relish it, or do they think, shouldn't we be on the other end? Lots to get into. Sam McEwen, Brian Christopherson, Andy Candy, all still to come on Mornings with Sharp and Handley at 1620 The Zone. Have you gotten to the point of discipline with Reese where you act like an official, like you and your wife throw a flag,
No.
and then you signal what the penalty is as you send Reese off to either timeout or to his bedroom?
Actually,
Tee him up.
we have done that because he knows this is kind of cool.
Baby's first penalty box.
Please tell me that you have a flag.
Oh, we don't have a flag,
Dang.
but he see. I like that because he's starting to get more into football. But hockey, if I do this, he knows what that means.
Yeah.
So there was one time that I don't know if I gave him boarding or something, and I told him that he needed to go to the penalty box for a little bit, which he thought was cool. He didn't see it as a punishment. I like the flag idea.
Like when you and your wife have to, Reese gets out of line, you have to, assess a little punishment. You or your wife should put on a referee's shirt, and
I got one.
They're available. Spirit of Halloween.
I have one.
Wait, we've seen a
and
picture.
then stand in the middle of the room, throw a flag,
Mhm.
and then assess the penalty. And you can say a penalty that was assessed last night: improper conversation with an official. That was called on Buffalo
I
last
didn't know
night.
that was a penalty. Yeah, improper conversation.
Are they
with
talking
an official.
about P.
That's
Diddy?
what you could say to your kid. You could say improper conversation with your parents.
Yeah, when he talks back.
That'll be 15 minutes in the box.
Yeah, I love it. 15 minutes and no iPad. Because he did learn from now he has grandma and he has Nana. He learned from Nana. They were watching the opening night Thursday night Chiefs game because she was watching for a little bit. And when we
Big Taylor Swift fan is your son?
not yet.
Oh,
but
was he watching last night?
So what's she? Is she Yankees
Just
or
everywhere.
Cleveland? I know Travis is pro Cleveland, but she
she's
cheered during the damn home run for Juan Soto. What the hell,
She's
Taylor?
a New Yorker.
Yeah, but still,
Is she
come on
cheating
now.
on Travis? I'm here for this.
And even
No, they were there.
even
They
BA
were there together.
Oh,
They
I
had a
know.
lot of PDA.
even BA said it was the wrong team, Taylor. But when we got back home, we were watching the Nebraska game the following week. Every time there was a flag, he said, "Oh, something bad happened, Daddy. Something bad happened." So he
Nice.
does associate the yellow flag with something bad. So
Sure, I hope
I
you did
like-
not let him watch that game last
No,
night.
he
There
was-
were 22 penalties in that game.
He was in bed. I wish I was.
That
in
was bad, Dad.
Yes,
That was bad.
Oh, that was bad.
Dad,
Whoa.
Dad, are the Jets and the Bills really bad
Are
people?
they? Yeah, bad. Yeah, I like that idea though because I got the referee shirt. I've always wanted to get rid of it, but I'm like, you know what? At some
You're
point, I
gonna
might
need
need
it
it
one day.
Maybe that, and then just get a little yellow flag, weight that thing down, just start throwing it all over the. Oh, God,
You should mic
that's a great
yourself
idea.
up.
Yeah.
We got a little microphone too.
And then
Oh.
and then he can throw a challenge flag.
He's got the red.
Then your wife
Keeps his little baby
She's got to
soft.
review it.
Your wife goes under the hood and starts. Well, after last check, yes, you did throw something on the floor.
You did
Oh,
actually
yeah.
talk back not once but twice.
That was actually
is a-
Daddy that made
We
the
are
mess.
assessing a 15-minute timeout. I love that. That's such a good idea. Now that he knows what a flag is. Yes.
Well, they made it tough to watch last night. The roughing the passer, and then it does not help that Aaron Rodgers just absolutely trashed the officials after the game. Good luck getting a roughing the passer.
Yeah.
If I was TJ Watt, I would try and light up Aaron Rodgers and do whatever you can.
I'd
And
put
do this.
all my
Sorry.
weight
Let's go.
I missed it.
That's not roughing the passer. Even
Darn.
Epinesa.
No, but Gary,
Like,
when you put your weight on a guy,
Here's the thing. Like Epinesa, tried to brace Aaron Rodgers'
Yeah.
fall.
Yes. Yeah, he was like cradling him. Right.
Mr. Rogers, sorry.
But you can't put your body weight on him. I mean, you lean in. There's certain ways to tackle him.
Jets are the same old mess. Doesn't matter who the head coach is. The general manager is 29-60 since he has been in charge of the
Damn,
Jets.
he still got
they
a
have
job.
A poor offensive line. They were bad in the red zone, and they've got place kicking issues. I like Greg Zuerlein. He's one of us.
Yeah, he is.
I think he might be unemployed before long because Aaron Rodgers was on a tirade after the game, which 2-4. I'm sure that the Bills will come back to the pack.
And I'm smiling right now because if they continue to go down this road, that will only build with Aaron. He likes to start pointing the finger. If
They're
he hasn't
sloppy
already.
They're sloppy. I didn't notice any difference last night from what I've watched of the Jets.
That is true. Some things never changed, no matter
Yeah.
how old we are,
Well,
what decade
and
it
they
is.
and they couldn't finish, so Aaron wasn't happy.
Right.
Here is Andrew. Good morning, Andrew. Thanks for holding on the 42 Degree The Source hotline. Good morning.
Good morning, boys. How are we doing?
Good. How are you doing? What
Hi,
do you think
Andrew.
about the Jays being preseason 15th?
I think that
Seem to be slighted to me.
I think it's about right.
All right.
Chemistry matters, and there's a lot of new pieces. So, well, I think that's fair enough for right now. But I could see them where, it's kind of a fun year. I was talking to somebody last night about we really don't know what to expect.
Yep.
And we know what to expect from Cockbrenner, and kudos to him to making the AP All-American preseason team. But it's still a very unknown on what this year will look like.
Yes, which could make it kind of exciting. It's a hell of a schedule. You get to play Alabama, KU, and UConn twice.
It's a tough schedule. And tomorrow, I think there's a 7'1" kid that sounds like he's gonna go. Is it Reeby or something?
Eric Reeby.
Yeah, that is going to announce tomorrow where he's going, and it's between Kansas, Creighton, and Connecticut, and I hear Connecticut, but we'll see.
All right, yeah, they have a chance to put together a really good recruiting class, but yes,
it's another thing. So this game against Indiana, is it game worthy to rush the field if Indiana wins?
That's a good question.
From the Nebraska fans that'll be there, or the Indiana fans?
Indiana fans. I mean, is it really? If Indiana is what everybody says Indiana is, it should be a simple game for them. I don't think it's rushing the field worthy.
Okay,
my point of view.
But I don't know. I think Indiana fans are still very trying to figure it out. But boy, they're getting a lot of love. I've seen some national guys from The Athletic have Indiana in the playoff right now.
Oh, come on now. That's just crazy talk.
Well, and I think it's here. So let me pose this to you, Andrew. If Nebraska was 6-0, do you think they would be in the playoff?
No, we haven't played enough.
But I think being 6-0 and you need to fill 12 spots, so to speak, Nebraska would be in the playoff. But Indiana's in a couple. I mean, hey, everybody wants to see where you stand. This is a figure-out game for Nebraska and a figure-out game for Indiana. They're a good team. I don't know that they're great, but they are very well coached.
They are well coached, and that gentleman has done a phenomenal job.
Yes.
But it's Indiana.
I know, and it may be
it's Indiana. It's like, come on now.
Yeah, well,
it doesn't sound right.
No, but it's the new college football where you can hire the right coach and you can turn it around in the first year. But is it sustainable? And we're about to find out. I mean, they're a good team. There's going to be some areas where I think Nebraska can exploit just because of their talent. Nebraska's talent against Indiana's talent. It's going to be a great game. I think it's going to be a fantastic game.
They haven't played anybody.
No, they have not. And so that's what but they are 6-0, and they've beaten everybody by at least 2 scores, and against FBS teams, they've scored at least 41. So they have found a way to win, and they haven't had hiccups against inferior competition. So I credit them because we'd be saying the same thing around here.
Yeah.
And we kind of do at times. Andrew, thank you for the phone call. Hey, listen.
Nebraska would be part of that conversation.
Yeah, they would.
There's no question.
Yeah, because they are a brand and people would put them in there. And remember, before Illinois, Nebraska was the cock of the walk.
Yes, they
people were talking about Nebraska. I mean, people were dropping to a knee to wonder, Dylan, will you be mine? And then they lost to Illinois, and it's kind of quieted around here.
Yeah.
Nebraska's still 5-1.
Yeah,
they're still 5-1. Now, get back to me in 2 weeks if Nebraska is 5-3, and people are like, well, and then we'll have to have the discussion of, well, where is Nebraska in the pecking order? Because they played 2 pretty good teams and couldn't find a way to do it on the road. It's week to week. Week to week. But Indiana's a well-coached team. I credit Cignetti. He gets his first high-profile job. He's 63. He can come across as a D-bag, but he's not like a slogan guy. And I know he said, Google me. Hey, hat tip. He knew that he had something for them to get off to a 6-0 start. When he says in Indianapolis and he talked a big game and they're 6-0, hey, good on you. You know what? Because you knew something, you saw something, and you know that you're a winner. I also like this about him. Man, he doesn't beat around the bush. He gets right to the point. Okay, he's got a lot of Saban in him.
Yeah.
You know, there's not going to be a lot of fluff with Indiana. It's like, this is who we are. This is what we're going to do. We're here. Great for the Big Ten that a basketball school is being good in football.
Yeah,
okay,
there's a lot of old school with him.
That helps out a lot. Yes, old school is probably the best way to describe him.
Even though that he's using the modern, the way the game is now played at a modern level when it comes to how you can build a roster quickly like that. Okay, so you can look at.
You mean you use the rules that are at your disposal until somebody stops those rules?
Thank you.
You know, and then people get upset because you're using those rules and they're not.
That's the whole don't hate the player, hate the game, my man.
Bring it all back to local, I guess.
But the no BS approach, and I think a lot of this has to do, given his age, given the amount of time he's been in college football, when you've seen enough, but you're able to adjust, but still stick to what you want your message and your tone to be for your team. That's what Curt Cignetti is. Because when you think
a winner,
when you think of like hockey coaches that you want to, you feel like a little bit more satisfaction when your team that you root for beats them. It's usually a little bit more young, brash, like you said, like the sloganeering. If you're envisioning a guy that looks like he wears a tie and a 3/4 zip on game day, yeah, PJ Fleck is kind of that guy. You and I, in fact, I don't know if many other people outside of you and myself will ever bring up PJ Fleck, but give him some credit, because that was the first thing I noticed about you when we were talking about PJ Fleck even last year is whether you like the guy or not, you got to give him credit that he can coach a little football. And especially he's had Nebraska's number. Now, all the other stuff that he does, it ain't for everybody. Hell, there's a lot of stuff he does that ain't for me. But I respect winning. I respect teams that look prepared, especially in key games. And you know what? More times than not, when he's had lesser talent, they've at least looked prepared, and they've gotten the most out of that. I think there's a lot of that with Curt Cignetti, without the fluff and the "I freaking love you," the tirades and stuff like that. Like, I think he's got that old stool. Jesus.
Well, when you get to 63, you
got it all covered today.
You don't know when it's going to hit.
He's got the
never pass up a trip to the bathroom before you leave.
The old school tone. Sorry, Curt. Sorry, Coach.
Great.
Old
now they're going to be motivated.
Tone.
Make sure you get your prostate checked out when you get a little bit older.
Yeah, there we go.
That's I'm being all serious here.
We are approaching that month too.
Oh, there's a month?
I
thought there was an age.
November is prostate awareness month. That's why you get the Movember. Dudes growing out mustaches. Yeah.
But yes, what you said.
Yeah, that's for Movember's for
Movember is with prostate cancer awareness?
Yeah, prostate cancer awareness. Yeah.
I thought it was something different. not as like the Fat Bear Week or anything.
You just thought
like
it was Mustache Month?
He's probably thinking what I'm thinking.
You thought it
I don't think
had
about
something to do with Thanksgiving?
Yes.
I don't think about my prostate very often. I don't like talking about it, but I know it's important.
Yes, very much so.
Like, it's like the
dudes get it checked. There's your PSA.
Yeah, it's like the oil. You got to get it. Yeah.
It's one of those things you don't think about.
Not sure if Curt Cignetti has had his prostate checked. Probably not a question I'll bring up on the teleconference.
Sorry, Coach. Old school tone.
There, has to rule that the next.
Not old stool.
I mean, I think there's probably going to be and I don't think Nebraska is this way, because Rule laid it out yesterday, and I think Rule is. I like how Nebraska has gone about building their roster, and they can high school recruit at a place like Nebraska. I'm sure there's some jealousy towards the advantages of coming from JMU, and you bring a load of your players, and the one thing about a new head coach, and I don't care if it's Nebraska or Indiana, it just reiterates that, boy, you got to hit on that quarterback in your first year. You can buy yourself some time with your quarterback selection, whether it be 1 year, whether it be 2 years, and then while you got your quarterback secured, you can work on the rest. So that goes a long way. That Rourke comes in, and he's got experience playing, that he can ball out, and he's in a scheme that fits him well. I go back to something I said yesterday that I think I'm gonna sit with this all week. Is Indiana is well coached, and they have taken advantage of what has been in front of them. A schedule that allows a new team essentially to build success and confidence.
Yep.
But they've also taken advantage of teams that either have new head coaches, relatively new head coaches, coordinators as well on both sides of the ball that maybe in-game have struggled. This will not only be the best team Indiana has played, this will be the most experienced coaching staff they've gone against. So the in-game chess match is the next step of figuring out where Indiana is going.
Yeah, and I think the 2015 Iowa comparison is valid to this point.
Yeah, today, yesterday, good, not great. Schedule worked out.
Yeah,
because they will only be, I think, Nick, looking at their schedule, I think they'll only be an underdog when they go to Ohio State.
Yeah, because they got Michigan.
I think they'll be a favorite against Michigan if they win tomorrow or if they win on Saturday.
I'd agree. Yeah,
yeah,
and then because there's tests coming up, but it's not all of a sudden stacked against them. Okay,
yeah, it's you know what?
It's a really good schedule for a first year.
Signetti's a smart guy.
Yeah.
When you're looking at jobs and you're like, okay, what's your NIL? Can I win there? What are the pressures like? Do I have a good boss? What's the schedule look like? What's the roster look like? Give the guy credit. I mean, he could have stayed at James Madison and continued to roll, and instead, he probably looked at the Indiana job and said, man, their NIL has gone through the roof. I mean, they're real about football now at IU, along with basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And he probably said, you know what? God, this is a dream scenario. And look at that schedule.
Yep.
Okay. It doesn't get real until the second half. So we're not going to get bludgeoned and really be swimming upstream. So he's a smart guy. He's a smart guy. I'm sure he looked deep into Indiana and said, man, there's a place I can win in year one. Now, year two, he is a winner. He has proven it. Now you go, okay, how's the roster look? But year one, momentum. Reason why the stadium is packed. Was it first time since 2021? Bloomington will be sold out on Saturday.
Yeah, and the part about how their schedule shakes out too, and I brought this up yesterday. I go all the way back to a conversation that we were having during the College World Series, and Josh and I were given the best case scenarios, and I said for Indiana, it's a bowl trip. You know, you got a first year coach, you got a schedule that is not overly taxing. But there's obviously challenges in there. So, and given the climate in Indiana, given that the highest of highs in the COVID season, but everybody always want to put an asterisk next to that and say, well, that was COVID, and you really hit the lottery with Michael Penix. The follow-up wasn't good, and obviously Penix, getting injured and all that and then leaving. But that was a program that was so beaten down again. But that expectation is not about the football program. The major expectation is about the basketball program, that if you get to a bowl game, that would be so huge for them. Okay, they've already done that. Now they're on the house money, which I think is really interesting to see. Okay, you've already, by a lot of people's assessment, I'm not trying to say, hey, we're smart, but by a lot of people's assessment that look at Indiana football, you've already accomplished something that nobody really thought you would accomplish, or at least best case scenario. So, and you got the second half of the season left. What does that do to this team? I'm sure they're not talking about what other people were thinking about, but now that everything is still right there in front of you, that type of overall buzz that they have, and if they can win, and you talk about that roster construction right now, they can do some of the things that Matt Rule was talking about yesterday, where they can start to recruit. Because if you put out a product that in your first year in the Big Ten, that you have worked yourself up into that upper tier, there's a drop off between Ohio State, Oregon, and Indiana, but if they could be competitive against Ohio State, who's to say that all of a sudden, not only the transfers look at your program and say, hey, this is kind of a cool place, but all of a sudden you start recruiting that Indianapolis area a lot more consistent, more so than what Tom Allen did. And all of a sudden you are starting to kind of build internally as well.
Or you become Portal U, where, hey, guy on his last chance came to IU and now he's off to the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Sam McEwen's going to come up in about 30 minutes. By the way, Sam's Big Ten power rankings, most everybody has Indiana's 4. A lot of people have Nebraska as 6, which is right. Nebraska should be in that 4, 5, 6, 7 range, sharing some headspace with Illinois, Iowa, among others. So Sam will join us at 7:30. A little bit later, Brian Christopherson, Andy Kendi on a Tuesday edition of Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Jimmy's got an update next on 1620 The Zone.
Two Omaha hockey players have been honored by the NCHC for their performance at the Icebreaker tournament in Las Vegas over the weekend. Simon Lecozzi was, every time I say it, I just hear it in your voice, Nick, was named the league's goaltender of the week after helping the Mavericks post overtime wins over UMass in Minnesota. The junior from Slovakia, just outside of Omaha, made 77 saves in 2 wins, which included tying a school record with 53 saves.
Hey, they were done dirty in the polls, by the way.
Oh,
I thought they'd be in the top 10. They move up to 12. UMass drops 1 spot. Minnesota drops 2 spots. That's it?
Chip on your shoulder.
Come on!
That's all right, chip on your shoulder.
What else you got to do?
Yeah.
Jeez. They did move up to 12, though.
Yeah. Help me out with the name here. Jacob
Gavin?
Oh, Gavin. Okay.
Yep.
I was right, but I don't want to mess it up. Anyway, defenseman of the week. I can pronounce that. The junior scored the winning goal Saturday night in the victory over Minnesota 2-1, assisted on 2 other goals in a 4-team event. Yeah, they may have gotten screwed by the polls, but you know what? It's a great start to the season, and they come home to play Augustana this weekend. They're already home. They didn't stay in Vegas. I'm sure they would have wanted to. Creighton women's basketball is moving its January 25th game with Paige Beckers and UConn to the Chai. It'll be part of an old-fashioned doubleheader with the men's team playing first, Seton Hall against at noon, followed by the 4:30 women's contest. The UConn women, Blue Bloods in sport, have never lost to the Blue Jays in 9 all-time meetings. On the way to another Elite Eight finish last season, the Huskies went undefeated in Big East play, beating Creighton twice by a combined 64 points. Would you believe me if I said one game was 63, the other game was 1? Well, it's not true, though. Nebraska baseball gets a 7-run 4th inning, sparking the red team past the white in a 7-5 7-inning affair at Haymarket Park, part of fall ball, as Caden Brumball's 3-run double to right provided the go-ahead runs. Red leads the series 2-1. They'll play today at 3 p.m. to conclude fall practices, complete with fall weather. Nebraska sophomore, this is volleyball setter, Bergen Riley named Big Ten Setter of the Week for the 3rd time this season and 7th time of her career. She led the Huskers to a 3-2 win over number 10 Purdue and a sweep against Rutgers with just under 12 assists per set. Against Purdue on Friday, Riley helped the Huskers come back from down 2-1 to win in 5 by posting career highs of 60 assists and 17 digs. She also had an ace kill on the block. Day baseball yesterday. Mets even up their series with the Dodgers, beating them 7-3 in Game 2 of the NLCS. Yankees beat the Guardians 5-2. They play Game 2 tonight, bet on Cleveland to win. Monday Night Football, Buffalo beats the Jets 23-20. It was a terrible game. It cost me money. Angry. Finally, poor dude. Utah quarterback Cam Rising out for the season on a lower leg injury, and Coach Kyle Whittingham said yesterday true freshman Isaac Wilson will be the Ute starter until further notice. Rising was injured again in Utah's 27-19 loss to historic Big 12 rival Arizona State on Friday. His leg was bent backward. Ow, enough of that this weekend. At an awkward angle following a hit on the Utes' first drive. The 7th-year senior finished out the contest. I did not know that Urban Meyer recruited him to Utah originally, but struggled with his mobility and accuracy. Completed only 43% of his passes, which is less than ideal, and threw 3 interceptions against the Sun Devils. Rising has already missed 3 games this season because of an injury to his throwing hand. He sat out all of last season after suffering a major knee injury in the Rose Bowl the previous season. Whittingham also said an 8th season for Rising may be considered if he decides to seek a medical waiver after the season, though Cam Rising doesn't seem to be too keen on another year of college. And as someone who has gotten older, we all have, you can just stay another year. Why not?
The money's good.
Don't be in a hurry to grow up. It's not that good. Actually, it's pretty bad. Stay in college.
It's like a weekly thing if he's going to be able to play or not.
Yeah.
Almost think, you know what?
Like
maybe he can find somewhere else to play in his 8th year.
Mm-hmm.
If he has a couple of degrees, maybe he'll be a doctor.
Yeah.
Terry writes in, thank you, Jimmy. Terry writes into the Equitable Bank inbox where they take banking personally. Gary at 1620thezone.com or Handley at 1620thezone.com. Hi, guys. I listened to IU's presser yesterday. Siggy.
Oh.
He's already gotten to that point. He's going to coach 6 games in the Big Ten.
Hey, Siggy.
Siggy reminds me
I like it.
Of Bo Pelini. I was waiting for him. He is pretty to the point. Yeah, he's pretty to the point. Like there's not a lot of fluff. Okay, he can be a little bit gruff, but he doesn't.
Coach.
He doesn't beat around the bush. Like he is old school. Like there's in his media stuff. There's a lot of Saban in him. He's on. I noticed in my algorithm on TikTok, because it's IU week. I'm getting like a lot of Signetti stuff.
Yeah.
And he's that way. It doesn't matter. Like he was doing an interview, and I think it was an in-house show, and he's not like joking around at all.
Yeah.
He's like, this is what we do. This is who I am. This is what we're going to do. And he goes, come out to the game. Kickoff's 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, coach.
Better
like
do it.
that.
Better be in your seat.
All right.
I like that. I do. I like that because
you could be Bobby Knight successful without the anger.
yes,
But you still got some gruffness.
No, think about the situation that he's in. If you're like a different personality and you get off to that type of start, of how lost in that moment you can be, or how much you can get into that and play it off, and the good mood that all of a sudden carries into some type of shtick, or just different things that are probably unnecessary. This goes back to what you said earlier, and yeah, a lot of Saban in him. Just absolutely no BS. This is what we see from Nebraska. He had all kinds of respect for Matt Rule, for Dylan Raiola, for their defense, but also very confident with what they've done to this point too. And they also had a very successful is not the right word, but they had a very solid bye week too.
Everybody gets better during a bye week.
Yes. And if you don't, well, first of all, I appreciate your honesty.
I love a coach.
But that'll show too.
I love a coach that said, man, we sucked.
Yeah.
We lost.
That bye week was brutal.
It won't show up in the standings, gentlemen and ladies, but we lost the bye week.
We had guys get arrested. We had some guy, he tripped on a curb. It was just bad stuff.
I mean, our fifth and sixth stringers were beating our ones. It was just brutal. I wish we would have played. We would have had better success actually playing an opponent than playing ourselves. Which, if you are, good luck.
Yep,
good luck and congratulations.
Yep.
All right, thanks, Jimmy. There was some news, and this has been in the news, and it's been for a while, about high school football and rules, regulations, stuff you can do, open enrollment. All of those things that surround athletics and high school athletics in this, especially in this town, people are extremely passionate, and I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fortunate enough to be involved in the high school football scene, basketball, all the high school stuff. So there are a lot of great men and women that give their time to coach, and it is not easy. And we know what the challenges are of OPS. And yesterday, a letter was sent to staff and families and players, student athletes, from the principal at Benson, Melinda Bailey, that Benson's football season is over. I said the other day, I said on Friday, you were away, Nick, but I said there's no way that Benson and Millard South can play.
And that was after the Millard South.
There's just absolutely no way, because Benson played their most recent game and they had 23 players. Remember, 11 of those are on the field.
Yeah.
They had 23 players in their most recent game. So they were scheduled to play Lincoln Southeast and Millard South, two playoff teams in the state. They have forfeited the final two games because of the low participation numbers. And this is from the principal, quote, "The decision follows a thoughtful discussion between our coaching staff and school administration. We know this is disappointing for our student athletes, their families, our competitors, and school communities. We apologize for any inconvenience this may cause, and we appreciate your understanding." I think there are two things at play here, and I'm going to focus on the Omaha Benson thing. And I'm going to separate them. I think there is a Omaha Benson. The dynamics of the high school have changed. Omaha Benson hasn't been to an appearance in the playoffs since 2009. It was great when Randy Stella was there.
Yeah, Kent Keith.
And Tony Veland.
Yeah.
That was great. The demographics have changed. The rules have changed. OPS has changed. Benson hasn't been to the playoffs in football since 2009. They've currently lost 17 games in a row. During that stretch, they have been outscored. Y'all ready for this?
Yeah.
868-28. Remember last year? They got beat by a score of 93-0.
Mm-hmm.
They have lost a game already, 77-0. 17-game losing streak. The numbers are way down. People don't go to the games unless that's your son playing, or that's your husband or significant other that is coaching. Just because you're a high school doesn't mean you have to have a football program. Okay? There was a time where, and we had a very passionate discussion on this air, because actually more coaches than I thought I did that are at Benson, they were like, you know what? The support isn't great. The facilities are not great. We don't even know if they want to have this as, they want to make this just a tech school and you don't have sports.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought, well, if you can't compete, when you can't get numbers and you're at a disadvantage and you're getting your head knocked in, what good does that do for the kids that want to play football?
Yep.
What does that say? They start thinking, man, I want to go somewhere I can win. Do you really need to have football at Benson?
Mm-hmm.
And I know what the response will be. Well, you know what? You got to split up A. You got to do this and this. And, Benson should go down. Benson has not always played in A recently.
Yeah, they're in B.
And B is pretty damn difficult.
And they were getting beaten.
B is very, very competitive.
Mm-hmm.
So they haven't been to the playoffs since 2009. I think the last time they had a winner was 2009. Does Benson need football? The kids at Benson want to play football, but does Benson need football? What about co-ops? I think Bryan and Benson girls basketball are co-oping this year. And Bryan girls basketball, we talk as much about girls basketball. Didn't they lose like 106 games recently?
Yeah. And again, another basketball program back in the day, like Risha Bristol.
So South, Bryan, Buena Vista. Anybody be opposed to having co-op?
I wouldn't.
For high school football in this town? Now, there will be the discussion, and there's some things the NSA can and can't do because there are state things, and there is the 90 to 180-day transfer. And that'll be discussed, and I don't know where that will go. I think the most logical thing right now, because sometimes you can't go back, and there are lawsuits that would be involved and regulations, and it's a litany of things, is there is a lot of talk about scheduling on does Benson need to be playing Millard South? Should Elkhorn North be playing Millard South? There's a lot of those things behind the scenes. But I do know this about Benson. And Benson is a very unique school, and it's a really damn cool school. I've gotten a chance to speak over there, and there are a lot of alums in this town that are people that are highly successful, whether they're building buildings, they're in the media. There are a lot of people that care about their school. And it's not like they haven't tried. I know a group after they got beat 93-0.
Mm-hmm.
There were some specific alums who are ingrained in the community, got together and said, hey, how can we help this out? And it's tough. It's tough. There are no right answers to help Benson. I think the answer is, do they need football? Do the kids that go to Benson that want to play football, and I'm glad that they want to play football because it's not just Benson. There are other places where the participation numbers are not where they used to be or not where they can be to be successful and put yourself not in harm's way where you don't ever come off the field. And Saturday morning, you're like, geez, we just got beat 93-0 and my body feels like crap. Is the answer co-op? Is the answer co-op football for some schools in OPS? I know you want to go, no, we got to have Benson. Well,
things have changed.
Do you need football at Benson? So this will be tied into, we got a problem with Class A football. And you can use part of this to talk about Class A, and we've talked about those many, many times. And everybody goes, well, what's the right answer? I don't know if we get to the right answer. Because Omaha is now like Kansas City and Chicago and St. Louis when it comes to the public schools and the separation. We're just about 20 years behind. But I think we need to focus on Benson. Does Benson need football? And if it's not Benson on the jersey, can we find a place for the kids that want to play football to play with other kids so at least they have a chance on Friday nights?
Yeah.
And so they don't lose their love of the game that they have been playing since they were a little kid.
Yeah, spot on there. The first thing I thought of last night when this came out was the players that are still on the roster that want to compete because they're there. They want to compete. They understand the reality of it. They understand that it's probably not going to go well, but they still come out. They go to practice every day, understanding the reality of what's coming their way either Thursday or Friday night. So those student athletes need a place to play, 100%. Whether that's they're able to transfer elsewhere, or the co-op thing, in which I was really inundated with when I lived out in Columbus, and not necessarily the Columbus high schools, even though the baseball program did co-op with SCOTUS. You had a lot of those smaller C2 D schools that were co-ops, and you see it does. It becomes the most important part of it is the numbers game, where not only what you have on the sideline on a Friday night, but how your preparation is leading up to that Friday night. What are you able to do in practice? How are you keeping these kids not only prepared, but also safe because you've got enough bodies to do what you need to do to prepare against a tough team. When you tell me 23, and that's on a good day, right? I mean, that's maxed out as far as what they have.
So I know that the last game they played, there were a couple of kids that were in street clothes that were injured, wearing their jerseys.
You're going to have
so
injuries, illnesses.
Maybe we get to 25.
Okay, but I mean, things are going to creep up. I mean, we all played high school football. We know how that is. Your availability. It's a thing that fortunately for me, I never had to worry about because we always had 30, 40 extra guys. You see those sidelines, and it's sad. And this isn't a 2024 thing. I've brought this up in the high school baseball circuit when it was one of the most.
Doesn't Benson and North have co-op baseball?
Yep. Play, and I think they still play at the Omaha Home for Boys Field. There was the time that Omaha Northwest was it in baseball. Bill Olson, son Greg Olson, but even the early 90s teams that they had. Things, and there's a lot of people that are listening to this right now that we all remember how it was when we were growing up here, and we remember teams like Benson. I'll never forget playing Benson in high school football. You mentioned Randy Stella, Kent and Keith, Shellsta. Like they were good.
A lot of new high schools though that have opened in the metro since Benson was kids went, man, did you get to know that I got to see Andre Woolridge play?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, and the bunnies were running.
Yeah, and it was, there were the running rabbits, and it was this really cool thing. And, I just remember when I think it was right around 2010, between 2010 and 2012, that I was trying to schedule Omaha Northwest for the summer baseball team when I was coaching Columbus Legion. And they said, well, I can get your JV coach's number if your JV team wants to play, but we're not fielding the varsity team. And to me, that's where the numbers thing really hit home. I remember doing some of those games on Cox a while back, and you would watch some of those OPS teams, like at Omaha Northwest and on occasion Omaha South, and you'd look at one sideline, like they're playing Omaha North, and they've got a lot of bodies, but then you'd look at the other sideline, and it is just so thin. And you would respect the crap out of anything they did well because you're wondering, how do they even do that with the limited numbers and participation that they have? And it is one of those things where it's not something we understand because we didn't grow up with that, of seeing the Bensons of the world that would have to even think about co-oping, because we always think of that as a small community. Towns that have maybe 2,000 to 3,000 people have to co-op to the neighboring town because that's just the population thing. But when it comes to now participation, and it comes to the amount of people that can come out day in and day out, prepare themselves for a Friday, and you don't have that, you're endangering those kids too.
The other thing here, coaching matters. Okay, I've told you about, it's tough being an OPS coach because you are a father, you are a mother, and your phone never stops ringing to take care of the young boys and girls that you are in charge of. Is coaching matters, not only on a Friday night, but who the coach is. Now, Benson was starting to regain some buzz when Terrence Mackey was the head coach. Why? Because Terrence Mackey has connections in the Boys and Girls Club. Abdul Muhammad was on his staff. A lot of guys that were on their staff are ingrained in the inner city. And so they know kids. So they're attractive. So they want to go play at Benson. And I think their last year they were 3-6, but it was a step. And then Coach Mackey has gone to Central, and that staff went with him. And some of those players, thinking, well, Central is the place for me for whatever reason, athletics, academics. They followed the rules that are in place, and they transferred to Central. And Benson made a hire of somebody that is not from here. So does not know the inner workings of, you got to show up on a Sunday to watch a Pop Warner game, or know all the connections where you can get in and you can sell your program. And so it's been an uphill battle, and I don't see it changing anytime soon. But that doesn't mean that we take away opportunities for the people that want to go and get a great education at Benson, that they want to play football. I think co-op is the right way. There are other schools in the OPS that are struggling as well, that Friday nights when you check your score app, you go, man, 57-0.
Mm-hmm.
And last week it was 70-0. What do we do to fix that? You can tell me that, hey, got to go from 90 days sitting out to 180. You got to split up Class A. But why don't we focus on figuring out OPS and giving opportunities, but making it so the experience is worthwhile. And instead of going, man, I hate this, we suck, I'm going to go somewhere else. We're like, hey, it's kind of fun. It's unique. At least we have a chance on a Friday night. And there's scheduling and there's district. I mean, scheduling and districts are a big thing that I think you can fix before you ever get to the bigger picture of transfers and May 1 and all of that stuff that's involved, that has a lot more people that are not in Omaha involved in those decisions.
Yeah.
All right, here is Gary on the 42 Degree The Source hotline. Good morning, Gary.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for bringing up my alma mater, Benson High School. Graduated 1975, which we always call the class the best alive, and brings back memories of 1975 when we played Omaha Burke High School in the Metro Conference Championship. Unfortunately, we lost 6-0 with having Bobby Bass, the best running back in the state that year, going up against a linebacker by the name of Rod Cush from Burke High School. But I'm saddened as a former student, alumni from that school, for the kids that can't enjoy a Friday night like the past. And I agree with you. I hope high school football people get the things fixed. But I just felt I needed to come out and stand up for my alma mater, Benson. Again, sad that the kids are going to go through this, but Benson is Benson, and their other sports programs hopefully will get stronger, and the students at Benson High School can go back and start learning and enjoying the Friday night atmosphere of high school sports.
Yep. Gary, thanks for the phone call. There's also the part of it's a safety thing.
Absolutely.
You got 23 kids playing a Class A schedule.
Yep.
So let's say we co-op and we add the 23 from Benson to, I'm just use Buena Vista as an example.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, and I don't know how many. I haven't seen Buena Vista's roster. Let's say you add 30 there, so you have a co-op of, you at least have 50 players to go play on a Friday night. Where, okay, safety is, maybe we don't have as many two-way guys.
Mm-hmm.
If we suffer some injuries, we're not completely decimated. They have 23 players. We're talking Class A football, 23 players.
Where you're going to have to play both ways. You're not platooning that. And yeah, that's why I talk about the practices and the preparation for whichever opponent, whether you're playing Millard South or somebody else. When you don't have the bodies to execute a proper practice to have you prepared, that is a problem physically. I mean, you're endangering student athletes.
Yeah, it's everything aligned. Coach that is not familiar with the Metro, so he can't build a staff, he can't build a roster. People are unfamiliar with him. He's from the outside. Lack of numbers. You inherited a program that maybe started to take some steps, but still, Benson hasn't been in the postseason since 2009.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just things that, we're kind of catching up to the rest of the inner cities. When as long as you say out loud that OPS is an urban school district, and which it is, you realize that when it comes to athletics, we're about 20 years behind other urban school districts. Not as large as Omaha, but still there's, a million people live in this community. It's coming back. I mean, it's been here and it's just been accentuated over the last couple of years. But I want to focus on the Benson, not tie this into, friggin' A, Class A is a mess. NSA, what the hell you're doing? Let's focus on Benson. And again, go back to the question. Do they need football at Benson? Have football, but it's not just Benson.
Yeah, you're partnering. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Sam McEwen's going to join us here in a little bit. Also, a little bit later, Brian Christopherson and Andy Kendi at 1620 The Zone.
It is the greatest time of the year again. Football officially back in the greatest sports month of the year with Underdog Fantasy. You can join over 1 million fans across 33 states that got in the game last year by making picks on Underdog. You can win up to 1,000 times your money just by choosing higher or lower on your favorite plays' stats. Making picks on Underdog is straightforward and signing up even easier. Just head over to Underdog's simple-to-use mobile app or UnderdogFantasy.com. Sign up with promo code ZONE, and Underdog will give you a free pick to use on your first cash pick'em entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. That's Underdog Fantasy. Promo code ZONE to claim your new customer special of a free pick and your deposit offer. Must be 19 plus, a Nebraska and president to stay where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
All right, time to welcome in our good friend, Sam McEwen from the Omaha World Herald. Good morning, Sam.
Good morning. How are you guys doing today?
Good. Hey, I told Nick earlier, I did not think you had kids old enough to be dating in high school, and I heard you talking with Connor yesterday. You said your daughter is dating a football player, and then Nick told me, homecoming. Yeah, like homecoming pictures
Facebook's
were up
a
on
beautiful
Facebook.
Yeah, she's 16 and she can drive.
That's even scarier.
If this makes anybody feel better, she's like way more mature this year than she was last year when she couldn't drive. So like, the driving has actually been a really good thing for us. I don't know if that's everybody's story, but it's been ours so far.
Let's something we were just talking about before we brought you on, and you know the situation because you have somebody that you work with in Stu Pospisil who is very passionate about what's going on in high school athletics. And we get the news last night that Benson is shutting down the season just because they don't have 23 players. I mean, this is a safety thing. It's also a bigger picture thing. Stu wrote about it. You've talked about it. What is an answer for this without the moving heaven and earth and getting the unicameral involved and changing laws and stuff? So maybe we get the Bensons or the co-ops or the smaller OPS schools that they can maybe compete on a Friday night.
Yeah. So Stu's written a couple of pieces that I encourage people to read at the Omaha World Herald. One of them has actually predated Lincoln High forfeiting the second half in Benson. It was a scheduling story just about the way that maybe 180-day sit-outs can be a more effective transfer policy than 90-day sit-outs. And then once Lincoln High forfeited, resigned at halftime, Stu fleshed out a couple more thoughts related to just the way that the classes and scheduling work. I think there's some things that the NSA membership can do. Obviously, the Benson situation is difficult because Benson was a pretty competitive football team 3 years ago. And then, the coach at Benson went to Central. A lot of players went with him. And, that left Benson in a really tough spot. I think 17 players, something like that, went with him. And so that left Benson in a hard spot. And it's been a very difficult, road since then. There's other schools in OPS that have struggled as well, especially at the football level. And so that's an ongoing challenge. I think you've got to find a way to develop youth league football, specifically in OPS, to get players maybe more prepared for the sport once they get to high school and they want to play it. Football is a sport that you can pick up late in life. You don't, or late in your youth. It's not a sport you need to play when you're 9. You can be very, very good starting the sport when you're 14, and there's reasons for that. Some of it's based on physical maturity and whatever, but just finding a way to get kids ready. But I do think the transfer policies need to be examined, and that's probably the area where you're going to see the most focus put is. And then again, like one of the larger issues here is that there's a feeling that there's really only 2 teams that in Class A that can compete, and they have they've pretty actively added transfers to their roster, and so or they've got kids living all over the city, and so it feels hard because it feels like these are almost like magnet schools, even though they're not charter schools, but they kind of function that way when it comes to football, and so that's challenging. At the same time, there's other schools that are dominant in other sports. We're not talking about private schools, but you could also see a private school multiplier that makes things more challenging for schools that are able to sort of pick the players that they want and put them in a private school. So there's a lot of different things that I think will be discussed over the next 3 to 6 months, but obviously you don't want to see what happened over the last 5 days happen again.
Yeah, and I know Stu had an article, and this was after the second half forfeiture last week of the Millard South Lincoln High game. A guy that I played for and I respect tremendously, and Dan McLaughlin. I feel like there are a lot of coaches out there that had coached hell, Dan McLaughlin coached Norfolk when they beat Benson in the Torrey Veland Benson team in the state championship game, which feels so long ago. But, these are guys that are still involved in high school football. He's helping out Larry Martin at Omaha North. People like that. I know they're always asked about what they think, and I think we all know the answer. It's the solution, Sam, and that's where I feel like there are probably good ideas, but I don't. Is there one solution that's going to appease everyone? I don't know if that exists.
No, I don't think so. I don't think there is one thing that can resolve it. I do wonder what the 180-day transfer system would accomplish. And here's what I think is notable there. Like, if you create a system where it's really hard to transfer, from school to school without basically sitting out a season, then in theory you could be running into a situation where kids stay at a school for longer, or they're trying to identify these kids before they even go to high school and trying to sort them into certain programs. But there's no one thing I don't think that's going to solve it. It's just something that we need to write more about, not just from this is what the NSA needs to do perspective, but examining what's going on in some of the schools. And I do feel like OPS is actually Omaha and the metro area stayed ahead of the curve in some ways. I think if you were to go to some other cities not that far away, you would find that there's schools that have been bad in high school football for 25 years because these problems have already sort of revealed themselves. And I feel like Omaha has been more resilient than that. But you've seen, I think, in the last however many years that these things are starting to happen, and that there's got to be a way to alleviate the concerns. You don't see it as much in basketball. Obviously, there's only 5 players that are starting and playing at any one time, so it's a little different. Yeah. You can field a pretty darn good basketball team, with more limited roster numbers, and obviously a lot of teams have. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think it's going to take some creative changes on a number of people's parts.
Sam McCune of the World Herald joining us. Let's shift to this week, and it's a big game. Kind of has a big game feel, maybe not as much because it's a road game, but it's still a big game for both teams. And special teams seems to come up every single day. Rule said improve focus. What did you take from? He has talked about it, and he knows that they've got to figure things out. But what did you take that? Well, he was talking about it yesterday. Oh, by the way, and this is so on brand for George, he slipped in that Coach Darlington showed up with a folder full of ideas.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm sure that there's some things that Nebraska can try in terms of blocking schemes or strategies. I think the challenge that they have, and I kind of wrote this in the rewind, is, and I don't think this was true in George Darlington there, incidentally. I think the late Dan Young managed kickers and punters and did all that stuff really well. And part of that, I think, was because Dan was a high school coach. And so, I think when you're in high school, you just have a different developmental mindset about X, Y, and Z. But the point that I'm making is that, like, a lot of times we will regard the kickers and the punters and the snappers as almost like IT specialists, that are like working on your computer network, and you don't really want to know what they're doing to fix the computer network or the wireless network that's down. You just want them to do it. And they're going to have to engage it more. I think there's got to be, I'm just not sure how you came into a situation over the summer where you had a player that was, banged up. Basically, it was a golfer with a broken wrist. Tristan Albano's a kicker with a injury, in his kicking area, and you just didn't. There just wasn't a larger plan around it. And how did you get to the point where you're having to take? I mean, you can only take 70 some players on the trip, and you got 2 of them have to be long snappers. That's so there's just things that, and I put a lot of that on the head coach. I wrote that. Head coach has got to manage a roster, and head coach has got to dial down regardless of who your special teams coordinator is. And, I just feel like they're probably putting more work and urgency into that than maybe they have. So special teams, I think, is a wild card almost all the time. When you get great specialists, It's not like you can set it and forget it, but like it's a huge advantage when you don't have them, or you have specialists like last night in the Jets game, a great player who's suddenly just kind of lost some of whatever this year. And man, that's tough. It becomes very, very hard to get out of that vortex. And so I suspect Nebraska may struggle all season with field goals. I do think the punting thing can get resolved though.
And Sam, that leads me to my next question. Gary and I were talking about this earlier, and it's funny. I look at our stream and I see this comment by Steven of, you guys realize that last year NU loses that Rutgers game. It is interesting, and maybe it's because we'd had an extra week to process one of the major things that's impacting Nebraska, and you just said it right there, special teams, that even in a win against Rutgers in a close game, the close games that we always talk about Nebraska not being able to win, that they win that. We built up Rutgers. I'm not saying just you, but we all had respect for Rutgers coming in. And yet people are almost a little bit more down on this team than they were after the loss to Illinois. Is it where do you connect that to? And are you sensing that too, that people are a little bit more critical of this team after a win against a Rutgers team?
I don't know. I mean, I think people are just hungry to win. And so, you see all these college football games on Saturdays and I think fans just want to be a part of it. And here you go. Indiana's a flavor of the week. And, Indiana was the, the equivalent of the kid eating chalk last year. And now, they're 6-0 and they're favored to be 7-0. And I don't even know who they play after that. But I mean, I think they've got a chance to, they're going to have an outside chance at the playoff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's just a feeling of like, when does Nebraska get to be that team? And when does Nebraska get a good win? And so I think what you saw, and people watch the games this weekend, and of course, Iowa and Wisconsin and USC, and there's a sense of like, well, maybe 6-6 is the best they can do, and like
it's changed.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. I think they've got a very good chance of beating Indiana. I really do. I think they've got to play a good football game, but I think there's things that Indiana likes to do or wants to be about that Nebraska can slow down on defense. They really can. I didn't get the sense yesterday that Rule was like super worried. I think he made some comments. He wasn't necessarily attributing them to Indiana, but the comments about feeling bad about defensive coordinators that don't defend, power offenses and things like that. I'm like, this game is going to be more of a muscle game from Nebraska and a little bit more finesse from Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
We'll just have to see what happens. I think that's what fans are starting to feel is this. They've been very supportive for a very long time and want to see, they want to see Nebraska volleyball as a Nebraska football program. Yep. Like you just see how they look at the volleyball program, and nobody was worried on Friday night that they were going to lose to Purdue. I was checking social media. It's Nebraska volleyball. They want that for the football program. And, you can explain to people, you got to understand that's way harder than it seems because everybody emphasizes football the way that Nebraska volleyball emphasizes volleyball. But, at the end of the day, you got to find a way to keep getting better. And Rule is trying to do it systematically. He's doing more of a slow cook than Kurt Signetti did. Mm-hmm. And in 3 years' time, you know what? Maybe Indiana won't be very good because they had to add all these transfers. So year 2 is going to be pretty hard around there. But I think it's more the feeling that Nebraska fans are like, well, this year it'll be Indiana, next year it'll be Minnesota, and this year it'll be this. And why doesn't Nebraska get to have that season? And, we'll see. They beat Indiana on Saturday.
They're the hot team again.
Feel a lot different real fast.
Yeah, they were the hot team 3 weeks ago going into that Illinois game. Sam, how do you think they balance in this particular game, a road game, with a bye week and Dylan looking at what happened against Rutgers defensively? The weather is going to be a lot better to be a quarterback. How do you think they balance in a road game being safe with your quarterback or being aggressive with Dylan?
Well, it could come down to the game. I think Nebraska's going to want to go in there and run clock and try to control the football game and keep the score in the 20s. That'd be Nebraska's preference, I guess. But if Indiana comes out, let's say Indiana wins the toss, or they want the ball. Indiana gets it. And they go right down and score. I don't think they're gonna hold too much back, Dylan. I think this is going to be a game where they look at the defense and say, yeah, we can move the ball on that defense. Like, I think there's a sense of, Maryland did it, Northwestern did it, Charlotte kind of did it. The UCLA game doesn't mean much because UCLA's offense is awful. So you don't put a lot of stock into that game. You look at the other games and you say, you know what, our offense can be better than those. And so if it gets into a scoring match, I don't think they're going to be too afraid to do some of the things that they got to do to move the ball and to score. But I don't think they want that game. I think they want 24. Control the game, limit Indiana's possessions, find a way to get a turnover or two, run the football, and get out of there with a win. I don't think anybody in that football office thinks it can be 42-10. I think if they think they can win the game, I think they feel confident about that, but they prefer to win it in a certain way, not 38-35.
I absolutely agree. Should be an interesting game. It'll be fun at 11 o'clock on Saturday. Safe trip out to Bloomington. Look forward to the coverage from you and the boys.
All right, take care.
That's Sam McCune of the World Herald. You think about it, like what Sam was saying about a road philosophy. Rule actually has kind of one of those philosophies of let's do this. Let's go a little bit slow. We'll go tempo when we have to. Mm-hmm. Let's play the clock game. Let's play the field position game. And you know what? Hold on to the football and we'll just get out of here. And, if we win 20-17, it's still a win.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of, some people are more like riverboat gamblers. And there's some times I'd like to see Rule and his staff be more aggressive. But in this case, they might ideally play a phone booth game and they're comfortable with it. It's not like getting out of their identity. I think getting out of their identity is actually being aggressive.
And I think it's very similar to going to that Rutgers game, the conversation, because you asked the same question of if I can't remember what the score is you threw at me, but you said like 20-17. Mm-hmm. If Nebraska wins by 3 points, would you take it? And absolutely, because there are still things that this offense needs to prove that they can do on more of a consistent basis when it comes to the running game first and foremost, but also what they want to always do in the passing game. Some of that comes with game flow and play calling and everything. But if they have the opportunity to be the more physical team, you've got to play that role because they are defensively. Defensively, that's the identity. That's what they can do, and that's where they can hurt Indiana the most. So if you're playing that thing in a phone booth, I think it's game on Nebraska. I think that's exactly what you want to do in this game.
All right, a little bit later in the last hour, BC and AK will stop by with their thoughts on Nebraska, Indiana, and a multitude of other things going on in the sports world around here. We're back with more with Nick, Jimmy, and myself. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Hey, join the VIP club and sign up for 1620 The Email. You'll be the first to know all the exciting content that's happening on 1620 The Zone, including sports, news, contests, promotions, and more, including the 4-quarter pick'em. Sign up today, 1620thezone.com.
Hey, we had a call earlier, Andrew. I asked him about Creighton, and he was talking about, I believe, Ryan Kalkbrenner, who preseason All-American.
We believe.
I think so.
I don't know what he said his name was, but it wasn't that, but it was close.
Who is
Like
on
Cyndi
a small
Lauper?
list of people that can absolutely change the game on both ends of the floor.
So
I
he's
think
a little more yoked now, too?
He is bigger. Does he have a chance? And maybe he already has done this. I'm not the Creighton historical person, but I think I know enough. Has he already surpassed the career of Kyle Korver at Creighton? So arguably Korver is the second. No one's going to touch Doug.
No.
Korver is the second best Creighton career. Has Kalkbrenner already eclipsed that? I'm going to say yes. I know I probably answered my own question. I'm going to say yes.
How much of that has to do with, though, Korver having some spot success in the NBA as well, though?
No, just college.
I know,
because,
but I feel
because
like
Kalkbrenner may not have.
Right.
You know, we don't know what his NBA career will look like. So I'm just talking about their time on the hilltop.
Yeah, I would say at Creighton, then he has. I think some people would answer that differently, but they're also they're not listening to just the direct question of Creighton, but they're having a little bit of the NBA success that Kyle
no
had.
NBA. Stop NBA. You know, just stop. Just this their college career.
Yeah, I think he has.
I wonder. I don't know who's going to challenge him for Defensive Player of the Year again. I'm wondering why can't he be the most valuable player in the league?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I
don't think they give out an Offensive Player of the Year. Well, they might. I doubt it. But who's going to challenge him for Offensive Player of the Year if he matches the same numbers he had last year?
Right.
Jones, Richmond.
Yeah. If you're
Caravan,
and Caravan kind of he kind of petered out there towards the end too. He was hot in the first half, and then now lucky for them, they had enough dudes around him that he didn't have to exceed what he did in the first half of the season. But I think that if you added that, for anybody who would be on the fence on this one or say, no, it's still Korver, I think if he sews up another Defensive Player of the Year, then you have to go with it. But if all of a sudden he's the Big East Player of the Year too, I don't think it's even close.
I think he's already second. They've already started putting together the jersey that they're going to put in the rafters.
It's being sewn together right now as we
speak.
See,
doing an event tonight, the Nebraska Greats.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the auction items is a really cool Creighton basketball.
Yep.
Supposedly there is a signed Ryan Kalkbrenner jersey.
Oh.
So we'll see what that goes for.
Okay. Are you the MC tonight then?
I am the MC.
Oh,
I'm hosting a panel discussion with Troy Dannon, Adrian Dow,
General.
and Marcus Blossom.
Without the
I'm
roast.
really looking forward to it.
You're like BTN's Dave Revson on Media Day.
Hey, I can't be raunchy.
Yeah, be nice. Best behavior.
So this is going to be a little different than the roast?
Yeah. Also,
oh, come on, try it out.
Also, we're doing it. I don't think this is a surprise. We're doing a Q&A with Coach Solich and Eric Crouch.
Yep. I saw that.
He played for him.
So you'll have those two up, and then you'll have the 380s, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
a pretty neat thing. Yeah, they were going, well, what are you going to ask Coach Solich? And of course, my questions were a little bit different than what they were thinking.
Well, yeah, you got a relationship with Coach Solich.
I'm just going to go, Frank, Steve Peterson. Just leave it at that.
Go.
Hey, it's been so Coach Solich is back for this event, but he was also back for the services for Pat Clare. And then Frank is going to be, he's not only going to the College Football Hall of Fame, he's going to be inducted at Ohio in 2 weeks. So he's making his way across the country.
Yeah.
So his daughter still lives in Lincoln. So Coach has been back many times, and Nebraska has embraced him and brought him back into the fold. He's kind of making his way across the country because he's been here for like a week, and then he's going to go on to Athens.
Jeez. You know what? He's kind of taking the victory tour right now too, of being a very, very successful coach. Do you don't get rid of all the material from the roast?
Well,
I think
there's been some things that have happened in Diddy's life that I cannot reuse. It's just not the.
It might not be the form for a Diddy joke.
It's not the crowd to.
I would love to see you try the Diddy stuff.
Yeah, probably need more along the lines of horse walks in a bar, bartender asks why the long face.
Hey, Bob, Man, you know you got it rough when even China thinks you're fake.
Not the
I
wrestler.
think it's not the place for it.
Oh,
But I will have some jokes.
You know who would laugh though? Jerry Murtaugh would laugh. Myrtle get a good chuckle out of that. He enjoys a good jab or two.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. He's still got the great voice.
Yes, he does.
Coming up, we'll get back into Nebraska, Indiana, because can Nebraska win if Dylan Raiola is not the best player on the field on Saturday in Bloomington, among other things? Plus, the running back discussion came up again yesterday. The elephant in the room. The head coach ain't going to do it because that's not his place, but I'm going to do it about the running backs at Nebraska. We'll get into that coming up in the next hour on Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome back in. Hour number 3, Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Jimmy here as well. Did you see what your hockey team is doing for all the beer drinkers at United Center this year?
No, I did not.
So you don't have the beer bat, which has become extremely popular.
I've had one of those at Wrigley.
So the Blackhawks, one of the food items at the United Center, they're having a 24-ounce beer hockey stick.
Oh yeah, that's going to be very boot-like though.
Only
So you're gonna have the bubble.
$37.
You gotta respect the bubble then.
But you got a handle to hold it. Like you just
kind of cool.
tip the blade of the stick up.
Yeah, but that is going to be messy because
Not
people
sure
will
what
not respect the bubble.
I'm not sure what the price is.
Sure, it's
but
very expensive.
you could go
$37.
Go to a baseball game during the day, hockey game at night, drink out of a bat and a stick.
Collect the bat and the stick. We
Now
actually
the next thing they know is like the basketball and the bowls. They should have like the basketball that is a bowl.
Yeah,
Just
half
beer.
of the basketball.
Like you're at
Fish bowls.
You're at Duffy's in Lincoln.
So the last time I went
Two big
to
straws.
Oh gosh, those things. I swear though, they didn't have alcohol in them.
I've used
swear
that
to God.
excuse
hello.
before.
When did you go to Duffy's?
This is when I was in college. I'd go out there.
Well,
I'd
the
visit
mixture
my
can
friends.
be a little bit off. I mean, that's
Yeah.
a big bowl.
It is a big bowl. It is a big bowl. I felt like there was a lot more sugar than there was alcohol in there. Now I can say
Depends on what night of the week it was for me. Like Mondays, man. Whew.
I can say though the struggle was real with Cliffs. The strain was spectacular with the Shark Waters. Now that was you'd get up after 2 to go to the bathroom. All of a sudden you'd pull the stand up and you're like, I better sit right back down here for a second. The last time I was at the United Center though, they did have the nachos in the helmet, which we did have. And is it bad that we kept the helmet?
No, you're supposed to.
Yeah, we brought it back. It's still it's actually it's been through 2 moves, and it's still thriving in our house. Just the helmet. Oh, we washed it out, obviously.
Do you have you
Haven't
made
eaten any nachos.
in it?
No. In fact, Reese wears it a lot. So no, it's now more of a outfit, part of his gear, as opposed to. It would be cool though.
Yeah, the batting helmet nachos are a winner.
Maybe if the Hawks get good again, maybe we'll recreate that and we'll put some nachos, just a whole mess of nachos back into the helmet and be like, this is where it originated from.
Apparently, they also have espresso martinis at the UC this year. Tuna nachos.
What is this? UC?
Jalapeno margaritas. I'll just take the Italian beef, a hot dog, and that hockey stick.
The hockey stick beer is fine, but yeah, what are we doing here? Tuna nachos? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Come on now.
You get what you pay for if you go with that.
That's a little too fancy. No, I'm good.
I wasn't talking about fancy.
I had a case yesterday of reading a subject line on an email without reading the email. I do that sometimes. I didn't tweet anything. So it was announced yesterday that Creighton and UConn women are playing at the Chi. And that's what I saw. And I was like, nope, bad decision.
But then you saw the.
And then I saw, TV's involved. So it's Fox.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, exposure is good.
Mm-hmm.
Creighton women's basketball being on TV is good. They're going to be good.
Yep.
They're playing UConn. It's just kind of like Creighton will never get Nebraska to stay in Sokol for volleyball. It's always going to be moved to the Chi because, the revenue factor, you have more people there. But it's not your normal home court advantage.
Right.
And there have been a lot of people that are clamoring. Now, Creighton women had to play there in 21 because volleyball was taking up Sokol, so they went and played Georgetown. But it's an intimate surrounding. Last year, there were a lot of UConn fans. There are a lot of UConn women's basketball fans in this town, and then there are a lot of Paige Becker fans.
Yep.
Like I saw a lot of Paige Becker jerseys in the game I went to last year, but they are moving the game to the Chi. Kind of interesting. It's going to be a doubleheader. But what an emotional day at the Chi on the 25th of January, because it is the men's pink out game.
Right. That's why I'm surprised.
It's going to be 12:30.
12:30 against Seton Hall, yeah.
And then 4 hours later?
Yep, 4:30.
UConn and Creighton women are going to play.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like it. Because it's a bigger venue and you don't have enough fans. Like the majority of the fans will be UConn fans.
Yep.
And you lose the intimate surrounding of Sokol, which is a great, either for volleyball or basketball, a great home advantage. But I get it. TV says we're putting this on, and maybe this was the tipping point. It's on Big Fox.
Yep.
Like the Creighton Seton Hall game is FS1.
Yeah.
Big Fox is taking over women's basketball. I hope in the transition, because you need 2 separate tickets, that a lot of people stick around.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to be an emotional day. I mean, we already know that the pink out game is pretty emotional. It's always packed. It's a great scene. And then you go from that to UConn Creighton women's game going to be pretty damn big.
Now, the Creighton women do a pink out game every year.
They might do it different.
I wouldn't do it against UConn.
Yeah, and I did. Obviously, they're not.
You do it at Sokol against someone.
And this is the thing
Save
that
it for Georgetown.
There you go.
Okay, so this is what
Save it
surprised me.
Gonzaga.
It's the men's pink out
If
game.
it only could have been that way.
You would think would be its own thing too. So the fact that it's being doubled up now, it is separate tickets. I do understand.
I think
it is separate
tickets.
tickets.
It's TV. With Big Fox comes in and says, "Hey, this is a great idea on a Saturday,
But we
late
can't-
afternoon on a Saturday. We'll put you on Big Fox."
But we need the bigger.
Nobody is saying no. Jim Flanner's like, you know what? I'll get back to you.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, yeah, we'll move the game against UConn and look at all those young girls that have Paige Becker jerseys on in the stands.
Yeah, this is where you need a lot of Creighton fans from the men's game to stick around to make that thing. Now, do you have to bring two different jerseys though, or jerseys?
Yes.
Not necessarily wearing jerseys. Do you bring two different attire? You
Oh,
have,
you mean
you have
so
the
the-
pink shirt, and then
the young kids that wear the Paige Becker jerseys, they have the Creighton pink out.
Yes.
And then
They
once
put-
the game's over, they
put the Becker's jersey back on. Yeah, this is.
What if you wore the? What if you wore the?
Do you have a
Paige
a pink Paige Becker's jersey?
Now you'd be a super fan.
That's like, I mean, that's kind of like a J skirt though too.
There are a lot more like real
A J-ski.
UConn women's basketball fans in this town than I would have ever imagined.
Yep.
You know,
It's like Dodger fans.
they've
They're more
been
than
they've
you
been
think.
to Lincoln, so they played in the NCAA tournament in Lincoln, and then they played a regular season game.
Mhm.
That's when Gino had some comments about Jess Shepard's
Oh yeah.
physique.
Uh-huh. What can we call them? J-ski fans? Because you're a Husky.
No.
Well, I guess you're back. So you're not going to even call them UConn
Sounds like
fans
some
because I think
weird
I think
dog mating.
There's the actually it sounds like I think it sounds like instead of like it's like a Russian J, like a
You can
Ruski.
call them whatever you want. A J-Sker fan is like super excited today. They got a victory yesterday.
Talking about like a pit bull and a Shih Tzu.
We call it a bull. Yeah.
$42, by the way, is the price of that beer.
24 ounces.
Yeah.
But still,
bro, you just show up. Sporting events,
my
Chicago.
Oh
you,
my God.
You haven't been to Wrigley Field lately, have you?
No, we were
Yeah.
there 3 years. That's when I got the bat. The bat was $20.
Yeah, the bat's a little bit more.
Oh, is it now?
We got to pay Bellinger.
You guys got to get some talent.
Hey.
So I'm paying for you guys to get talent. And you can't even get that.
Yes.
That's why he was
Don't you-
sad.
Don't you wish you would pay for starting pitching? Game 2 in that series,
That was mean.
Cole pitched. Well, I mean,
You know what?
you know that your bats have come along. The middle of your lineup hasn't been very good, but you gotta get more out of Alex Cobb than you're getting.
Okay, but
You can't have Boyd starting Game 5. We can't have a bullpen game in Los Angeles. I mean,
yeah, that was bad.
I'm so sad for the Bob Gibsons of the world that are out there.
Yep.
Not that they're, I'm sad that they're no longer with us, but also that they were starting pitchers that every fifth day answered the bell and we had actual starting pitchers instead of, hey, you know what? We don't know if this is going to work or not, but because of injuries and our roster, we got to go with a bullpen game on Game 2 of the NLCS and put ourselves in peril. There you go. There's my little PSA.
Can I have a little bit of a rant though? From yesterday too, when Joey Cantillo comes in, who couldn't hit water.
Yeah,
He
but
fell
you got to
out of
have
boat.
you can't put him in that situation. You got to.
No, as a
that's why you
dirty
got to
inning.
have a lot
But did
longer
you-
from your starting
Did
pitcher.
you see him come out in a clean inning? Did the same thing. Cannot throw a strike. That was extremely frustrating. But yeah, the at bats. Hey, respect to Rodon. He threw well, but
He
my
did.
God, some of those at bats though.
Yeah, the middle of your
Jeez.
lineup has probably let you down. Mr. Naylor has not been.
Mm-hmm.
He's struggling here in the postseason.
Yeah, I'm hoping that changes because remember that's the house of horrors for him because he did the little baby gesture in 2022 and then they got the last laugh on him and they let him hear that. He's still getting that right now. And little brother wasn't having a great day behind the plate either. So the Nailers had things that they were trying to work through yesterday, but no, I mean, when you're with the one inning that I'm thinking, okay, the tying runs comes to plate and it's Will Brennan.
Yeah.
Like shades of Brandon Geyer back in 2016, who I actually really liked. I said, is that our Brandon Geyer? Yeah, Will Brennan is anything but. So these are the options. Like the Lane Thomas one, for instance. Like Lane Thomas for me would have been a good guy to come off of the bench in those types of roles, but he's actually hitting cleanup now. So who are you actually bringing in where it's like, okay, like Manzardo, I like, still young, still got a lot to experience. There's just not a lot of options. This is a stark contrast from when they were in the ALCS last time when they were in 2016, where you actually had some pop in the lineup too.
Yeah. I mean, I think you knew that the pitching would be an issue, but your bats have to show up. But who knows? I mean, the Mets scored early yesterday. They were resilient. They jumped on the Dodgers, and essentially that game was over early, even with
Gotta steal one.
Edwin Diaz experience in the ninth,
Yep.
which trouble with the slider. Some people have trouble with the curve.
Yeah.
Edwin Diaz has trouble with the slider. And if I'm a Mets fan watching him, I have anxiety. He walks 2 and then strikes out 3. And you're like, oh,
yeah. Yeah, that's you guys got to see him in Omaha not that long ago. That was James Karinchak. James Karinchak was the exact same way. You're like, okay, that looks good. Oh my God, the bases are loaded.
But it was a good day yesterday for the J-Skers.
Yeah,
They had a good day. They picked up 2 victories yesterday.
Tell me why.
One,
Victories
Nebraska, Ohio State's playing at 11.
Oh, yeah.
And so they can go to the Purdue Creighton game.
Yeah, that is true. And then
I refuse to go to that. I refuse to go to that game because of the fees that are attached.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because it was more than the actual ticket.
Yeah,
I
but I
remember this.
imagine now that the game is set, because I think they were around 10,000. So I imagine that will start to pick up. And Purdue is. I guess Purdue's the only team in the Big Ten that's playing basketball this year. No respect for the Big Ten.
None.
And rightfully so. This could be a. I don't know how good the Big Ten's going to be this year.
Good if you need a Saturday nap and you see a game.
Well, I think they'll be 11-9, 9-11 will be what we consider a good record, maybe. Unless you're Purdue, who might be like 14-6.
Sounds like the Cowboys if they go to 20 games.
Yeah.
It's just rattle off players in the Big Ten in basketball.
Frankie.
Braden Smith, Fletcher Lloyd.
Okay.
That's all I got.
I just named 2 Purdue players right there.
But count.
I mean, the star power is not necessarily there. It's kind of, if you stopped and asked the person on the street to give me like 5 names in college basketball this upcoming year, Cooper Flagg would be probably number 1. If you are into basketball, Cooper Flagg.
Yeah.
I'll go Hunter Dickinson. I would think Kalkbrenner has at least gotten a name that the average Joe and Jane on the street in Benkelman could drop that on you.
There you go.
And then after that, Mark Sears.
Is
Mark Sears known? Mark Sears is one of the top players in college basketball. There's people know who Mark Sears is. Do you know who Mark Sears is?
No.
Not related to Todd Sears,
Ryan
former
Sears?
Nebraska first baseman.
Mark Price was.
So Ryan Sears. No relation there either. Okay.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say probably not. Just because I don't see the connection in where they were born.
Yes, from Alabama, I do know who he is, by the way. Mbako from Indiana. There's another one. He's in, right?
Yeah, big.
Mackenzie Mbako?
Hey,
Denise said Lorraine Brocco.
Denise and Benkelman wouldn't know who that is.
If I saw
the star power in college basketball.
If I saw Mbako walking around, I wouldn't be like, oh, that's him.
We're going to have to get to know some. I mean, the star power in college basketball this year is the coaches.
True. Yeah. Yeah.
And not that that's new, but more star power and more well-known coaches than players.
Oh,
this season.
Another Big Ten player, William Kyle.
But I mean,
they're in the Big Ten, are they not? That was the exercise.
Who isn't in the Big Ten?
But Barb and Benkelman, unless she's following Bellevue West,
shout out,
and
Barb.
She's watching Nebraska public media when they're playing for the state championship, and I'm sure that she doesn't get Midco. Hell, you don't get Midco in Omaha.
But Pete in West Point does know.
She doesn't know who William Kyle III is.
Shout out
Bill
Lacey
Kyle.
Benkelman.
The third.
The more well-known players might be in women's basketball. Juju Watkins, Paige Beckers.
Yep. Recognizable as well. That's the thing. Like the people I just rattled off in the Big Ten, which were very few, and 2 of them happen to be with Purdue.
One of them.
If I saw them in the streets, I wouldn't recognize them, but I could recognize Paige Beckers.
One of them would walk
Juju
into
Watkins.
gate 25 across the street from where he's played and is 1-1. And you go, oh, no, you're a punchable Purdue guy. And Smith.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, what do you got against Fletcher Lloyd? Why got to be like that?
Smith's the bigger problem.
There's a lot of people that you think have a punchable face.
Maybe
you mentioned the Wisconsin volleyball coach.
That list is very, 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 very small.
Okay. It's the second time in like the last 2 months that you mentioned a punchable face, and that has to do with the Big Ten. Kelly Sheffield.
2 months. Can't
Punchable
remember what
face.
I had for dinner last week.
You said somebody else too.
All right. When we come back, Matt Rule talked about his running backs. But what's the truth on Nebraska's running backs and their lack of explosive plays? Where the longest run this year by a running back is 42 yards. That's not good, boys and girls out there that want to grow up and go to IBAC-U at Central High School. Want to be the next Sayers. Want to be the next Calvin. Want to be the next Amon. Want to be the next David Horn.
What about a Grigsby?
Well, the young Grigsby that's a freshman at Central going to be a player. Yasir is going to be a dude. Central got a big win. We had them on Friday night. They played really, really well. Man, if they don't shoot themselves in the foot, Central will be competitive. They played pretty well on Friday night. And Papillion La Vista, who I think is a good team as well, they hurt themselves. All right, 8:17. We'll come back. We'll talk about the running backs, Brian Christopherson, Andy Kendi, still to come on 1620 The Zone. right, Nebraska, Indiana is 11 a.m. Ohio State, Nebraska is 11 a.m. So Big Red overreaction after both of those games. About 2:30. All right.
Yep.
2:31.
All right. Good luck to everybody that's doing those shows. Godspeed.
I believe you and I are doing Ohio State.
Yeah, I got the next two.
Oh. Okay, then.
Should be in great mood.
These are going to be some good ones.
Great mood.
I mean, Saturday could be good. Saturday could be really good.
I don't know. I just looked on FPI, and they got Indiana winning by 10.9 points, which I'm just trying to figure out the math on how that looks. They give Indiana a 77% chance of winning.
Yeah, that went up from 71% a week ago.
Everything about Indiana now is you read off a stat like, oh, they're second in scoring offense, they're 11th in scoring defense, and then around here it's followed by, well, how good is Indiana?
But are they really that good?
Against all the FBS opponents, they've scored at least 40. How good is Indiana?
Yeah, but are they? Yeah.
It's brothers and sisters in arms out there. As God is my witness.
Team.
That's why you play the game, to find out how good you are in a week-to-week game. Matt Rule yesterday talked about his running backs. Or actually, he talked about the running game.
Again.
Yeah, until this gets fixed, this will be a discussion. I mean, you can't be 14th in the Big Ten. And thank God 4 teams joined the Big Ten, or Nebraska be last, and 3.89 yards per carry.
Yep.
If you say that out loud, that's not good.
Nope.
That's not even 4 yards per carry. So the longest run by a Nebraska running back this year is Emmett Johnson, 42 yards. Dowdell has scored 4 touchdowns this year. But do you know that where 3 of those have come from?
Inside the 5.
Goal line plunges.
Yep.
Now, who doesn't like a goal line plunge?
We all know.
I mean, you wake up in the morning and you get a goal line plunge, but sometimes you would like an extended run, okay? And Matt Rule said this yesterday, quote, as we push forward, it is critical for us to unlock some longer runs. While I appreciate our consistency in short yardage, there's like shade and there's snark in here, and then there's reality all within 2 sentences. While I appreciate our consistency in short yardage, we definitely need to capitalize on some bigger gains on the ground. That's the area we're still searching to improve upon. Who is he talking to?
E.J. Barthel. All the running backs.
No, now you're just naming off people. Are you starting with the running back coach?
I'm starting with the running back coach.
Are you starting and stopping with the running back coach?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yes, I am.
And
because
what can he do?
Okay, I don't think this would be a discussion point. I said this last week too. I do not think this would be a discussion point if something is missing on game days with the ability to break long runs. They've done enough good on good from spring ball to fall camp that clearly, unless he's just doing this for the, what do you call it, a fool's errand? Unless he already knows.
What is that?
A fool's errand.
I've never heard of a fool's errand. Is that a Midwestern term?
No,
fool's goal.
No, it's not.
Fool's errand?
Yeah, you're setting somebody on. Okay, yeah. Look up fool's
Hold on.
errand.
Is that like beggar's night?
No.
I've never heard this before.
Fool's errand meaning.
You have 2.
A task of activity that has no hope of success.
Yes.
So you'd like Nebraska to throw the ball 65 times a day.
But where I bring up the fool's errand.
Fool's errand actually is an adult snack bar in Boston.
Oh, that could be good.
I've never heard that before.
You have to. I feel like you're being sarcastic now.
My grandparents passed away when I was relatively young. They probably would have used that word.
Fool's errand?
So I didn't get a chance to be around them to go, hey.
I feel like they would have sent little Gary on some fool's errands.
Sitting on the Davenport?
Hey, if
maybe they didn't tell you it was a fool's errand.
If Grandma Demas said, hey, your life, fool's errand. No hope of success. I never heard that. It's got to be a Midwestern thing.
No, it's not. It can't
fool's
be.
errand?
I'm sure when I was in, I'm sure I probably heard it when I was in New York at one. I don't know. Maybe it is a Midwestern thing. I've lived a very sheltered life.
I've been on this earth long enough to see Nebraska win 3 national championships in football, and I've never heard that word until today.
Man, see, at least you learned something today.
I might have to go home and take a nap. Now I'm going to use this.
Yes, use this, please. Yeah. We got it. Maybe it's bringing it back. I don't know. But the idea of the explosive play in the run game that doesn't involve Ja'Cory Barney, to me, with this group is a fool's errand. So
Fool's errand to me sounds like
where is
no
where
chance
is
for
he,
success.
Where is he getting so bent out of
No
shape
hope.
on this?
No hope.
Yeah, where is he getting so bent out of shape on these need to become longer gains? We need more explosive plays in the run game, because the only reason I can think of this is what frustrates him is two things. They somehow get this separation in practice, and for whatever reason, it's not showing up in games, or it comes down to the yards after contact and being able to, as we talked a lot about with Monangai, the leaky yardage that you're able to get out of one tackle and then extend that into a bigger play. Again, maybe they've shown that ability. Any three of them have shown that ability, and it's not happening in the game. That's the only thing I can come up with, because you've watched them, I've watched them, Jimmy, you've watched them. There's nothing about any of those running backs that they use, again, other than Ja'Cory Barney, and I wouldn't call him a running back, that gives you any confidence that that speed, that explosiveness is there, that they're going to turn a 12-yard gain into a house call where they are separating themselves from the defense.
Why don't we just call Nebraska's running game what it is?
Mid.
Nebraska doesn't have very good running backs.
No. So you think he's talking about the running backs then?
You can't say that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's
they're okay. Nebraska's running backs are okay. Nebraska, with
mid,
not consistency up front, can't afford to have okay running backs. That's not necessarily on you, because outside of one of them, which you brought here, you thought you had a guy that was a dude, that we'd be going into week 6 or week 7, and you'd have a guy that was in the top 50 of rushing yards in the Big Ten, which Nebraska, it's like, it's a virus. They're staying away from the top 50 in terms of having a running back in the rushing yards. That's the reality of the situation. As a head coach, you can't admit that, okay? Because you're looking for all kinds of solutions. But at the end of the day, Nebraska just has okay running backs. They're okay. We can say, oh my God, when Ramir, they're okay. Nebraska doesn't have a Maccabee.
No.
They don't have a Caleb Johnson. Okay? They don't have, running back from USC, who I really like, who no one can tackle. They have okay running backs. And that's a problem. But that's a problem that you have to fix on the recruiting trail, getting the right running back. You know? Dowdell, who is, I think Nebraska's got RB1, 2, and 3, situational running backs. But they don't have a solidified RB1. This is a problem that's been in Nebraska for a while. Just, they inherited a situation where the running back room wasn't great. They don't have a super dynamic, just baller, man, I wonder if we can keep him running back coach.
Yeah.
The running back position, the coaching, the usage doesn't align all at the same time. And that's a problem.
And maybe Kawan Lacey would have been that guy.
Yeah, he definitely would have been that guy. And that's why you look at a guy like Parker, who they have in this recruiting class. They just have okay running backs. Let's admit that out loud. Maybe I'm the only one that wants to admit that, but we beat around the bush. And I get it. Rule can't come out and say that. He can't say, man, I love Dante. I like Ramir. I like Emmett. They're good people. You know what?
Gonna be great husbands.
The three of them not only helped an elderly lady across 10th Street, they carried her. I just wish they would carry the football a little bit better. You can't say that.
But why is, okay, then, and I don't disagree with that. And the reason I bring up E.J. Barthel is there are things about how Dante Dowdell runs that you're running into contact, as opposed to one of the things I like about Emmett Johnson.
They don't teach that, Nick.
Right. That's
the
thing.
Dante, come over here. This is the whole key to success. See that guy's butt? Just run right into it. You know what?
I know they don't teach it, but what are they like? How is Dante Dowdell not able to have better vision? I mean, is it just something? And again, never played running back, so I know a lot of that position is instincts. But again, this is why I go back to, why does he keep hammering on it unless he sees a different version of these guys in practice?
I don't know. Then why in the games do they have to scheme so much out of the running back position? The quarterback handoff game is just okay.
That's a good point, because you see some of the more successful things that they do, especially in the red zone in the running game, is usually double counters. You're doing other things where you're bringing the tight end as another counter blocker. So I mean, I hear you.
Okay, so 3rd down and 4 basically is a pass play in Nebraska's offense as it's currently constructed, correct?
Yeah.
That's wild to think about.
It is.
I remember watching Darren Diedrich.
Rest in peace.
Yes, thank you. Jay Sims, Clinton, Damon, LP, Amon,
Calvin,
Brian Carpenter,
Derek Brown.
Shout out.
Weebex.
C-Buck and Dan.
3rd and 4 is like, damn, that guy might hit his head on a goalpost, or is at least going to get 5.
Mm-hmm.
Or be 4th and inches at worst.
Nebraska just has okay running backs, and it is a chore to run the football. And I don't know, I want more. Like, you guys might like 4 and 5. I like 14, 15. I like yards after contact.
Mm-hmm.
You can't live in a world against teams that have the same or better talent on that side of the ball and live just 4 and 5. We'd like to say, hey, man, you turn the clock and you move the ball down the field. You know what? Let's see. 2nd and 6, 3rd and 2. Oh, then we don't get it. We're punting the football. Nebraska just has okay running backs. There's nobody on this roster at running back where you go, boy, if they snap the ball to him, I wonder if he'll hit his left earlobe or his forehead on the goalpost. They just don't. And it's past recruiting, but it's the position at Nebraska that's kind of been that way.
Mm-hmm.
That they haven't been able to get that big time just dude.
Well, and
the guy that when he walks in the door, you go,
give him the ball.
Dude, do you want 22? Do you want 8? Do you want 10?
Mm-hmm.
Can I give you 1? Okay. Would you like another number?
Well, yeah, because they were getting that from the quarterback before. It's the way that they also recruited the quarterback position. And this isn't a Matt Rule thing. This goes back to coaches before.
And here's the thing. Like, we don't know this. Is like better running backs, would that help offensive linemen?
Oh God, yes.
I mean, we can say, hey, you got to block better up front. You'll help the running backs. Well, it's a combination of where Nebraska's just okay on offensive line. I mean, and they're okay at running back, and they don't have an element of a quarterback run game.
Yeah, because we haven't had, and this has been a part of the conversation for over a year now, of that position and being able to identify that guy that can mask a average offensive line, or even one side that's maybe a little bit weaker than the other side of the center. But I go back to that amount of emphasis, and even with Jeff Sims, when he was brought in last year, the amount of emphasis on having an athlete at the quarterback position that can give you those big plays. Because you think of some of the biggest plays in the running game last year came with Jeff Sims when he was actually holding on to the football. That touchdown run against Colorado, or Heinrich Harburg, or going back to Adrian. Yes, this goes beyond what Matt Rule and his staff too have had at the running back position and the quarterback position, the way that position was recruited. And I understood last year you had to figure some things out, but I think there has always been, I'll call it a crutch, that when you have that quarterback that can actually run and is going to be able to be a dual threat guy, then I feel like the focus of having the explosive running back, which in theory you would think, God, if you could have the quarterback and that explosive running back, what that could do to your running game would be amazing. But I feel like they got lazy when it came to recruiting that.
I wouldn't care about the quarterback run game. I would like a better than okay running back with a better than okay offensive line.
And I notice you're not saying all Big Ten on either one, because you don't have to be.
Well, I mean, again, I said yesterday, if we're having a draft and mid-season we're going to have trades, and I got to give up like some Casey's breakfast pizza or more trips to the Pizza Ranch for Iowans. You're in a small town in Iowa. Pizza Ranch is your number one spot.
Oh, I'll go with you.
I'm sending that to get Caleb Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You don't think Caleb Johnson makes an okay offensive line look like an all Big Ten Joe Moore offensive line?
Yes, he does. Because that offensive line for Iowa, it's better than it was a year ago, but it's not that offensive line that we've seen, in the last decade. He makes them better.
3rd down and 6. You have more comfort in Nebraska getting a first down via the air or the run. I'm going down to 3rd and 4. 3rd down and 4.
Air.
Oh, without question, the air.
That's crazy to say
it.
out loud.
It's weird.
I'm not disagreeing with either one of you. That's just crazy to say.
Yeah, because it comes down to when it's time to run the football, you can't run the football.
Yeah, I feel like I'm playing video football, if that's the case. Here is Tim before the break. Good morning, Tim.
Hey, morning, guys. Hey, I like your call on the Papillion La Vista and Central game there, Gary. You guys do a good job.
Hey, thank you, Tim.
Hey, I hope Rule goes to downtown Omaha because there's 3 studs on Central's teams right now. What are they, sophomore and freshman? That one wide receiver that can just turn on a light switch and he's gone.
Yeah, Torrey Pittman the third is, but he's probably at the next level going to play safety.
Okay,
but you're absolutely right. He's a deal. Yep.
Yeah, he catches the football and he's a difference maker real quick.
Yeah, then the running back you're alluding to is already. So Pittman and Kylon Haney each have Nebraska offers, and he's the sophomore running back.
Well, good. I hope they go to Lincoln. So, all right, guys. Thanks.
Thanks, Tim.
I go back to.
Let me just insert this because it's a personal preference.
Yes.
Y'all sleeping on Ike Ackerman. I'm not saying he's a Nebraska recruit, but Isaac Ackerman is a really, really friggin' he's one of the best players I've seen in the Metro this year. He just got an offer from Southern Illinois. He was kind of slated to go to Northwest Missouri State. He's going to get more offers. He's he'll be a guy in a couple of years that probably will end up at an FCS school and will be a popular transfer guy.
On the portal. Yeah.
All right. There's my central thing.
I do want to bring up the running back position and as far as Nebraska in the 3rd and 4th situation. How much of that also, because I know this isn't the direct question of 3rd and 4, what are you doing? Because you need to get a first down in that 3rd down. But also, where are you at in the field too? Because 4th down, are you in the go zone or not? I mean, that's another part of this equation too, is if you feel like, hey, you could run it on 3rd and 4 because you don't necessarily need to get the first down because you're going for it on 4th because you don't have confidence in what you might want to do when it comes to trying to get 3. That's part of it. I mean, that really is part of it.
I mean, what is Nebraska's best run game? Jumbo set, counter, Barney.
See, if you want the explosive play, it's Barney.
Sprint option, Dylan Raiola.
No.
It's in the playbook.
I know. It's not G option, but it is in the playbook. I know they said it. Explosive play, it's Barney. I just there's nothing, and I'm an Emmett Johnson fan. I won't get off of this mountain that I think he's their most complete running back. But when has he given? You mentioned he's got the longest gain of 42 yards.
I'm going to disagree with you.
Okay,
because I don't think they have a complete running back.
Yeah, I don't know if he's the most.
Like I think the closest that could do that, but I think he's better with the ball being thrown to him than handed off to him is Ramir.
Ramir. I'm a Ramir fan. I have been.
I love how Emmett runs the football on outside zone, but there's other parts of the game that he's got to get better in. I think Ramir would be the closest to being a complete. They don't have that. Nebraska's running game is like their running backs is all situational.
Yeah,
it's just I don't think you can get on the plane and on Friday and go to Bloomington and go, you know what, guys, I think we're going to run for 180 to 200, and this is how we're going to do it. You might be able to, but you're going to have to include a fullback, an extra lineman, instead of just, that's who we are.
Yeah.
We line it up. We pull up the big boy pants. We're from Nebraska. That's the situation you have to scheme with and scheme around and then go, 15?
Yes.
How we doing today?
Absolutely.
Are you ready to put on the chef's hat and do some cooking?
Yep.
But I don't want you, I'm going to keep you away from the pot because it's going to get really hot. I want to be safe with you. That's another thing we need to bring up to BC. Because I think, does Nebraska make the transition to being more aggressive special teams and aggressive with Dylan and take the regulator off and let him cook?
Special teams, I think, given what was said, again, reiterating what was said yesterday, too, I think special teams has a chance to do that.
I think Nebraska will. I think Rule is at a point where they will dial it up in being aggressive on special teams. What does that mean? I'm not the coach, but it doesn't necessarily, in my mind, mean everything's going to be a fake.
Right.
But do they try some things? I think he might that might be the way to go. Sometimes you fail, sometimes you succeed, sometimes you're the windshield, and sometimes you're the bug.
Sometimes it rains.
Sometimes it does. But not in Omaha. It didn't rain for like a month.
Yeah, it's very dry.
By the way, did you know if you're, I found this out Saturday night, if you want to have a fire pit, you can't do that.
Anywhere? In general?
That was
because of fire.
That was being frowned upon, yeah.
That's right.
Let's do the pilling.
Take away the Pornhub and now take away this.
This has to do with the red flag warnings that are out.
I didn't know if it's some stipulation that's going to make me move across the river.
What,
all of a sudden,
red flag, Nick.
all of a sudden we can't have a fire pit in the state of Nebraska.
No more fire pits.
There'll be no smiling.
When it's dry.
How are we going to be able to recruit?
When it's drought, like I know. They're like, well, you're noticing a lack of smell in the fall air? Yeah, those would be fire pits.
Yeah,
Can you imagine climbing, recruiting against Nebraska?
Oh, yeah.
You come to Manhattan, you can set the Flint Hills on fire.
Yeah.
Nebraska, they ain't going to let you have a fire pit on that apartment over there on 41st and Normal.
Mm-hmm.
It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
Hey, week 6 of the 25K four-quarter pick'em is officially open. Make your picks now to get a piece of the prize of $25,000. You can play now at 1620thezone.com.
This is from a texter, Kellyanne. She says, Fool's Errand, which I'd never heard before.
I love this. Thank you, Kellyanne.
Guys. Wait, I'm the one who first brought it up. Oh, you're reading.
No, she might be backing you up. I'm waiting to hear.
Okay.
She said, because I'm not very smart, she says, not sure if it's a Midwest thing, but my mom, I don't know why she has to tell me that her mom is an English teacher, would say that. Is your mom a teacher?
No.
Is your dad a teacher?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
We need more teachers.
We do. True.
I'm about, I think I'm going to get to do a sub day.
Sub? All right.
Oh, when?
Like 2 weeks.
Okay.
An OPS.
Yeah.
Mr. Sharp, Dr. Sharp.
I'm not comfortable of saying like where I'm going.
Why?
Well,
because any parents that might be listening are going to prepare their kids to be.
Well, I don't know.
Give you the
I don't know if
business.
that's appropriate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Respect.
I'm fired up though. She said putting Scott Frost in charge was a fool's errand.
At the time, didn't feel like it, but yeah.
I smell what she's cooking.
Asking the golfer Caitlin Clark not to whine to officials. Telling PJ Fleck to chill it on the sidelines are other examples.
Yes, these are all good. Yeah, 100%. Very, very good.
John writes in, what in the hell? Gary's doing big red overreaction for 2 games against undefeated teams to 16-20 hate Nebraska.
I guess that's true if you're looking to put some money down. I mean, you have given the record.
Didn't you
it's
win
not
one?
good.
You won one this year, right?
Oh, yeah, Purdue.
Purdue, thank you. Okay.
Hey.
Let's go. We got it. Hey, you never walk away from the table when you're on a heater.
Nope. Unless you're Dan Lanning and you hit on 19. That's
that.
what he is.
I love that. You're like, oh, 19. Hey. Hit me.
22. Hit me.
Come on, man.
27. Hit me.
People love them some Dan Lanning. Dan Lanning plays to win.
Give me that too.
He works within the rules.
Hey, do you think he sized up Will Howard at the end of the game, though? When Will Howard got in a little, he apparently yelled at a student reporter, but before that was happening on the field, and he was going to shake hands with Ryan Day. Apparently he got, I saw the video. I can't tell if he was or not, but he comes right up next behind Will Howard, and you would think that he would give him like a, hey, good game, bro. But he gave him one of these. I don't know if that was intentional or if he was, because we all saw him after the game. He was pretty jacked, and he should have been. But I don't know. There was the controversy, or at least the question going around, the Dan Lanning big league and flex on Will Howard. I think he was just flexing in general.
Yeah, it seemed like there was a lot of chaos at the end of that game on the field.
Yeah.
Or this Will Howard.
There's a lot of emotion.
November.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There was some emotion.
I was thinking about this because one of the big games this weekend is Texas and Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
You guys realize that if Texas beats Georgia, essentially the Georgia-Ole Miss game is an elimination game.
Nice. Yeah.
I'm here for that.
Yep.
This is an 84 Cotton Bowl rematch. There'll be a lot of bad blood.
Then who will Kirby smart punch?
Tell you one thing was true from this weekend and moving forward. The gulf between Sarkisian and Kiffin is widening.
Mm-hmm.
I think Lane Kiffin is great for college football. I think Lane Kiffin is a good person, and kind of reiterates even more with his father passing away. And I mean, he just shows up randomly at the service in Lexington, and I think Lane is really, really good for college football because he's a character.
Yep, we don't have as many anymore.
But I don't know, if I'm an Ole Miss fan, I would prefer to have my coach be better on the field than he is on my TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
And Lane Kiffin is too much of a social media guy that lives in the portal instead of winning games. He loses a game he's not supposed to lose, and then a game where he has equal talent with big stakes, he can't come through.
Mm-hmm.
And so I look at Sarkisian, who I wasn't so certain, because I thought there was going to be a Texas thing where you go to Texas and you just die.
Yep, and the pressure's there.
Jimmy,
yep.
You didn't die.
I didn't die.
And you
got out of
Texas. Survived.
I mean,
God bless Nebraska.
Usually you survive by getting out of there.
Texas sucks the life out of you.
It tried to.
Steve Sarkisian
He's thriving.
He is very successful.
Yep.
I mean, I think Texas is the most complete team week by week so far this year. Oregon and Ohio State are really, really good. But every week in and out, Texas has been the team for me. There's that's not supposed to be happening. Lane Kiffin's supposed to be the other way, ahead of Sarkisian. Sarkisian's supposed to fail at Texas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Man,
Yeah, he was.
They're
I thought he
rolling.
would.
It's not looking good for him failing.
You know,
They're rolling. By the way, it pained me to see what Wingo was doing at wide receiver for Texas.
Is anybody surprised by Sark, by the way? Though,
Yeah,
as far
no, people are.
If you look at the
We've
previous
already
stops,
had Urban going to Austin.
He fell out of Alabama and landed up on third base.
well, but
I mean, you go from Alabama to Texas, and you're like, you know what? It wasn't so great. What happened to USC?
But exactly, the USC, and
Almost
this is
like
this is
Paterno.
where I think this is a situation where a guy has learned a lot along the way of the stops, and he had the alcohol thing too, so there were some overcoming things internally as well as externally for him. But just the different stops that he made, where either he was the head guy or on staff, that he had a chance to take in, good for him. I think
Saban rehab
by the
program.
time he got to Texas, it wasn't overwhelming as it was for a lot of people.
I think he's smart that he learned. I mean, I think he's a good football mind that he learned to use Texas. Like instead of fighting Texas, you use Texas to your advantage.
Mac Brown did it first.
It's a good point. I think that's probably the best way to put it. Is you can resist it so much and just be like, God dang, this is pushing a lot up a hill.
It's
or
not
you
going
say,
anywhere.
What are the resources we have? How does this whole thing work? Okay, I'm all in.
Ding, 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 ding. You know what else? This little discussion here. Same thing about Nebraska.
Yep.
There've been multitude of coaches over stretches that have tried to find every reason not to use Nebraska as an advantage in your job, which is wild to think about, but
it's there for you.
You fight the fans, you fight the tradition, you fight
the access people want.
You want to make more excuses than positives.
Yep.
I know that's not the opposite, but instead of like, oh, you know what, man, the fans are a pain in my ass.
Yeah.
All right, they follow me into the grocery store and they stare at me. Instead of, you know what, it's great that they care.
Yeah.
You know what? Because I'm going to use you. Because you know what? I'm going to bring a big 6'8", 315-pound road grader at right tackle into the same grocery store, and I hope you follow him, and I hope you know him and you recognize him, and you're like, man, I would love to have you here, and then you slip him a Lincoln or something,
which is legal now.
It is. Kevin Schutz just tweeted this out.
I've heard of it.
He's listening to Matt Schick on Big Ten Radio and Sirius. This is genius. So Bielema was on with Schick this morning, and they were talking about the overtime game. Remember, because people are saying on the streets that the two best programs when it gets to overtime are Omaha hockey and Illinois.
Absolutely.
Bielema talking about
that's
that.
what I thought.
I think I heard Joel Clapp mention that.
He did, and Gus went, "Oh, the Mavericks!
The Mavericks!"
Illinois, when they get the game to overtime with Purdue, Bielema said he only sent one captain for the coin toss, so the other captains could be with their coordinators. He planned the first play, which was a touchdown. He also predicted Purdue's 2-point play, so they discussed the defensive play call before overtime began.
Little details.
Bert, I'm
like
sorry
that.
I doubted you a few weeks ago. Shame on me.
Little details, man.
Huge weekend in Champaign against Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be one of the bigger games that the Fighting Illini have hosted in a while.
They're back, baby. They're back, baby. That would have been a bad loss. I don't care how well Purdue offensively with the backup quarterback played. That would have been a bad loss.
Also on the Twitter machine, Huskers X's and O's. Good dude. Shares this tweet from Brett McMurphy.
Oh, happy birthday?
No.
Oh, okay.
What do Mark Stoops, Scott Satterfield, Deion Sanders, Lincoln Riley, Billy Napier, Lance Leipold, Hugh Freeze, Sonny Dykes, Mac Brown all have in common?
I don't like where this is going.
I don't know. Big buyouts.
Warm seats?
Ooh, you're already putting your head coach.
No, I'm not. I'm just trying to guess what might be the common deal
because I feel like this is isn't a
okay.
good thing.
I'll play along.
Like this
here.
isn't a good list.
Mac Brown's done.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why
that's going to be a good job that opens up.
Yep.
Sonny Dykes. People forget that TCU once was in the Mountain West, and then they once recently played for the national championship game, and they once kickstarted Deion Mania last year. What if TCU beat Colorado last year? Deion Mania would still be there.
Yeah.
Showbiz would be there.
It'd be a little bit more subdued.
Hugh Freeze, who doesn't know how to shut his mouth, he went off on another opponent yesterday. Lance Leipold.
He needs to shave. He's been grumpy.
Billy Napier.
Brian Edwards doesn't like him.
Billy Napier is got a resume up on Indeed. Lincoln Riley. Close games.
Can't cook meat to save his life.
USC's season is essentially over. 3 conference losses by 13 points. Dion, just get me to a bowl game so I can go to Wimbledon next summer. Scott Satterfield. People are like, okay. And then Mark Stoops, who, you know what? The thing I appreciate about Mark Stoops, every time he loses, he blames NIL. Like, hey, our NIL needs to be better. You know what? Maybe you need to be a better football coach. But all of those coaches, what they have in common? Record in the last 13 games. 5-8.
Oh.
That's not good.
Oh, yeah. The Kansas one's been a little bit inflated here lately in the other column. Yes.
Yeah, my liver hurts just
5-8.
talking about it. I won't be sending you pictures on Saturday, Gary.
Lincoln Riley. Not good. Not good, Bob.
Man.
I love the Mark Stoops one, though.
You know the only one on that list that really gets criticized, though?
Billy Napier?
Yeah.
Dion.
No. Touche.
You don't think Billy Napier does?
I think people are over Billy Napier.
Okay. So
halftime that
he's gone
A&M
from
game,
he's gone from getting criticized to dead man walking.
Last 13 games, Luke Fickell, Gus Malzahn, who is in trouble at the Central Florida.
Yeah, some people want Scott back down there.
Wouldn't be a bad move.
No.
He liked it.
Now they're in the Big 12.
Mm-hmm.
PJ Fleck, all 6 and 7
in
their last 13. Here you go. David Braun from Northwestern. Last 13 games, 8 and 5.
Yep. Came on at the end of last year. David Braun. I remember thinking, I thought taking that job was a fool's errand.
Well, I mean,
maybe got thrown into it. I guess
really didn't have a chance.
Yeah, I guess he really didn't. It wasn't his decision. Hey, buddy, interim. What do we remove that?
Yes.
Hey, you still got us to a bowl game.
Benefits good.
They looked really bad early on too. Hey, David Braun, respect, man.
Matt Rule, 8
him.
and 5, last 13 games.
Let's go. Let's turn that into 9 and 5.
All right, Brian Christopherson stops by next on 1620 The Zone. Yeah, Nebraska, Indiana, a big nude kickoff show, and then the big nude kickoff at 11 a.m. from Bloomington. 52K will be in attendance, sold out, first time since 2021. Brian Christopherson, Husker 24/7, will be there, but first he's going to stop by here before he drives to Bloomington. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you guys?
Good. How strange does it sound when people are talking about Indiana having momentum towards the playoff and might be only an underdog against Ohio State? What world do we live in that Indiana is being discussed like that?
Yeah, it's a different world, but it's one I'm growing a little more used to, and I think more people are. Matt Rule, I think, laid it out pretty well. You know how college football can shift, at least at certain schools, sort of on a dime. Especially if some guys programs get a first year coach, and it's going to set them back a while because of all it's going to take, and they're just not equipped for it. But in this case, Kurt Signetti and anybody who followed sort of what he was doing and his staff was doing at James Madison, and some of the players he had that have come along, probably isn't as stunned that they've been as impressive as they have been. And I know the schedule is what it is, but still, they've handled their business pretty thoroughly, and you got to give them their due for that. And he's been a winning coach most everywhere he's been, and he brought more than 10 guys with him from a very good program that was kind of the darling of some areas of college football last year. So I can understand this one, but yeah, it is different for those of us who sometimes on certain days, like me, like our college football set back in 1988. And that CBS theme song always playing in the background, and the older ABC theme songs playing as well. That's sort of my wheelhouse, but I'm trying to grow with the times.
Listening to Matt Rule speak confidently about what he expects with special teams this weekend, BC, where do you think that comes from what they saw in the bye week?
Well, I think you got to speak it in your room to believe it a little bit, and I'm sure they have went over things with the every inch they can look over to see what they can fix or what they can do better or what they should just not do. And what was most interesting to me about that topic was him talking about personnel a little bit, and he had a quote in there about maybe you're getting some younger guys on the field and in certain spots. Maybe you have to look at changing that up a little bit. And so I wonder if we'll see a few shifts in who's out there. But it's still a tough deal until you can snap the ball and kick the ball and make a 37-yarder. And that's the part I think everyone's sort of on edge about as you go into the second half of the season. You could argue it's already cost Nebraska one game, and we'll see how soon Alvano can go. But even if he can go at some point, he's going to have to get over that mental barrier. He's missed a couple kicks and see what he can do. So that it's a worrisome thing until it isn't. Mm-hmm. But as he said, this is the type of game, and it was interesting he said it out loud. I mean, it's kind of obvious, but you don't always hear this. You might have to steal a possession. So we'll see if Nebraska's got another trick up their sleeve at some point or something to try to back Indiana off if they think they're going to be aggressive with their kick blocking stuff and then try to make them pay that way. It could be an interesting cat and mouse game there.
Hey, interesting storyline is the quarterback at Indiana that transferred in when Signetti left James Madison to come to Indiana is Curtis Rourke, who actually began his college career playing for Frank Solich and then played on Frank Solich Field when Tim Albin for the last 3 years was the head coach at Ohio. Now he's going to play against Nebraska. The numbers look good through 6 games, 74% completion percentage, about 292 yards per game, 14 touchdown passes, 2 interceptions. As you've kind of watched him, and then also with the caveat, BC, of what Nebraska does well, they like some pressure. What does Curtis Rourke look like on Saturday against Nebraska's defense, either for the positive for IU or what Nebraska you think will make him look like?
Yeah, that's to me maybe the most interesting part of this game because he has played really well. You just have to try to get him as uncomfortable as possible. And it's going to take a team effort, rushing the QB. That doesn't even just mean sacks, just making him, feel it, feel like you're in his passing lanes, make even the short passes have a higher degree of difficulty or be a little off rhythm. And, when Nebraska's playing their best on defense, you see this sort of swarming defense, but also with the pass rush, you see like 4 or 5 guys, and it's like they engulf the quarterback. And somebody, usually James Williams, it seems like, but somebody ends up claiming the goods from it. But it's because someone else set it up. Like, it was mentioned by Rule how, against Rutgers, James Williams is pointing at Jamari Butler because Butler did something maybe everybody doesn't notice on film, but takes his man a certain spot, allows James Williams to rush the passer the way he wants to, and he gets home. So I think it's just going to be the detailed stuff like that maybe all the lay people won't just notice offhand, but everybody's sort of got to be playing off each other well. And what else is interesting? I was just kind of looking at the numbers, and again, competition is what it is, but Indiana's been in the red zone 37 times, more than anybody in the country, and they've scored touchdowns 30 of the 37 times, which is just a great number. So they finish drives. Nebraska's defense has only allowed teams in the red zone 13 times and only given up touchdowns 6 of those 13. So Nebraska ranked in the top 20 in red zone defense when you get into touchdown percentage, and Indiana's like top 5, top 10 at scoring touchdowns down there. So when I think of a game like this and how does Nebraska get on top, and we could talk all day about the field goal thing, but also on the other side, can Nebraska in those moments bow up, force Indiana to do something it hasn't had to do as much of this year, kick a 34-yarder or something like that and settle for 3? And maybe in that moment, the fan base a little down, like, oh, Indiana scored. But those are going to be winning moments, I think, for Nebraska in this game if they can rise up and keep the Hoosiers to more field goals and touchdowns when you get down there.
I want to flip it over to the offense of, given what we know this offense has shown to this point, but also the Indiana defense, which also does have some decent numbers too. Is this game, in your opinion, is this more of a concerted effort to be balanced, run the football in the situations that would be more traditional running situations? Or, Gary asked this question, we haven't really gotten into it that much yet. Is this a game where Marcus Satterfield, Glenn Thomas say, all right, hey, 15, it's time to take another step forward, especially in the passing game where they're a little more aggressive?
Yeah, I mean, I think you gotta feel it out. I'm not one of those people just going to go into a game and say you got to run the ball this percentage of the time, or if they are stacking the box and saying, okay, number 15 and your receivers, we think Banks in there or something, but do you have some other guys who can beat us? Let's see you do it. Nebraska's got to take advantage of those moments. You would hope this is a game where you could get Thomas Fidone some quality touches where he gets gets the ball in space. And I think we've seen a little bit more of that the last couple of weeks where he's had some moments. So I don't have a problem if it becomes one of those games and you have to spread it around through the air a little bit and trust number 15. Obviously, this coaching staff does to a great amount for any player, but especially when we're talking about a guy 6 games into his college career. That said, I think last week we were talking about the running game for a lot of the segment, and it does feel like this would be one of those games where you're on the road, and if you could have a drive where you get that run game going in the third quarter for, downhill, and you have a 10, 11 play drive, and there's 7 or 8 runs in there, you mix in a pass, that sort of possession, if they could manufacture that sort of in the middle of this game at a key point, I think could be huge. You have that 5-6 minute drive that keeps the other side off the field. That's large. So it doesn't, to me, have to be a game where you necessarily have 180 rushing yards, but if you have a 120 20 or whatever well-placed yards, and you're efficient in the passing game, that can be a working combination.
Do you think the amount of personnel on offense gets narrowed down that are involved in the skill positions?
It could be. That's a good question, because it does feel like you enter this point in the season where that happens a lot, where it's like, okay, you're more down to like 4 or 5 receivers. You know, you very much keep it to the certain guys that have really proven they excel in these roles. Interestingly enough, Ja'Cory Barney has certainly worked his way into that mix already as a true freshman, where he's a guy you're going to want to get the ball down the stretch. So I definitely could see that, though. That to me is a real possibility, and it'll be interesting. I know it's not the topic the head coach wants to talk about, but where does Micah Mazuka fit into, like, going forward out of this bye? Obviously, they got him in on some heavy sets, last game, and he was effective. And so that's something everybody's going to have their eyes on the first series. So there's a few of those things that I do think there'll be a personnel tweak here or there. But you get to this point in the season, and there's certain people you're like, okay, we know this person can succeed in this certain thing. We're going to trust them to go out there, and maybe you do narrow it down a bit.
BC, they're 5-1. There have been things that you can look at and say, okay, that looks better than it did a year ago. And there's obviously some things there that concern you. We talked about special teams. As far as your early preseason prediction compared to now you've seen the first half of this season, how close are you to sticking with what you originally had when it came to win-loss and how the season would play out for Nebraska?
There are a few things that are up and down in different categories than what I would have had them. Run game's a little down, but I'd say the quarterback is as even or up on what I thought he would be in August. Mm-hmm. And I know he didn't have his best game the last game, but if you look at the total package and turnover margin, I mean, we talked about that for 8 months. Like, what's that going to look like? What would it be if Nebraska was finally plus in that category? So can they keep that going? And if they can, I think they still are going to. I had them 8-4 in my preseason prediction, and I still think that seems like an okay number. The schedule obviously gets a lot harder. I think within their walls, though, this has to be viewed as just a big opportunity, and they are the underdog. That can be sort of a refreshing thing for this team that's been favored in all the games so far. And it's an opportunity, and maybe they're not going to talk about it, but, there is a couple droughts that always get brought up on the TV graphics or brought up by guys like me in stories where they haven't won against a ranked team since 2016. They haven't been to a bowl game since the 2016 season. You have a chance to go on the road against a team that is good but beatable. And with one big swing, if you're locked in, you can take out 2 big things and really, I think, give a boost to the rest of this season going forward. If you go out there and are, hit the finer points of your game really well on Saturday. So it is a tough game, but it's also an opportunity. And this is what this program should be, longing for right now, is games like this where it's big noon. Maybe the one after that against Ohio State's one where people are going to duck behind the couch a little bit. I don't know, who are fans, but this week it feels like, hey, let's go see what happens, and anything could be the outcome. So that's an exciting prospect if I'm within those walls.
3 weeks ago, they almost won a game like this in terms of score, 31-24. They were on the wrong end. Can Nebraska win a 31-27-ish game on Saturday?
Yeah, I think that's possible. But that's where the offense has to not leave that play or two that they've left on the field in some of those games. This is a game where you're going to have to maximize your drives. You're going to have to not have that penalty that crushes a possible explosive play that has popped up, whether you think they're good or bad calls, they've been called. And so this has to be about finishing, and it has to be about on 3rd and 1, you don't jump offsides or have a false start, and those are the little things that aren't little at all that will, I think, decide if they win this game and also decide if they can reach a score you're talking about.
Yeah. Fascinating, the game within the game. It's a big game. This should be a lot of fun on Saturday. Have fun in Bloomington, BC.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
It's Brian Christopherson from Husker 24/7. There is news in the NFL while we were chatting with BC. The New York Jets have had a hell of an October, boys.
Shocker.
They lost in London to the Vikings. They fired their head coach. They lost to the Bills last night on Monday Night Football, and they've just acquired Devontae Adams.
Yep.
Quite the bizarre month. What
Will
happens?
he save them?
What happens when they miss the playoffs?
Yeah. Well, then
we laugh.
You can say, "Hey, we did everything in our power to make this work for Aaron and everyone." And
Does I don't know much about. Maybe I'm mispronouncing his name. Devontae Adams.
I believe it.
Looking at the problems that the Jets have, does he play offensive line?
No.
Okay.
Well, they ask him to.
I'm assuming that would have been.
I mean, the Cowboys once asked Zeke Elliott.
That would have
been
a deterrent. I think he probably would have went with the Saints then. And yes, by the way, the Raiders are not paying any of Devontae Adams' remaining salary. The Jets are taking it all in, so they are all in to make this happen. Now I'm thinking back to the post-game presser. If they knew this was happening,
yes,
said better days were ahead. Better days were ahead. It was all going to start coming together.
So let's see. You have Aaron Rodgers at quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
There are some series he looks like the Aaron Rodgers that's going to Canton.
Yep.
Then there are some series he looks like he's 40 years old.
Yep.
Again, still the Hail Mary.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why you just don't bring the house on the Hail Mary.
Yeah.
Just
don't give him time.
And why there were two guys for the Bills just standing there.
Yeah.
I'm like, geez, you guys should come play special teams for Nebraska. Breece Hall, Braylon Allen in the backfield.
Yep.
And then you're going to be tossing the ball to Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson, Alan Lazard, Mike Williams, who maybe Mike Williams might not be there today after he got crushed by Aaron Rodgers, but Aaron Rodgers underthrew that ball. And then you got Tyler Conklin and Jeremy Ruckert at tight end. So offensively, I got some dudes, but
I like the way they used Breece Hall yesterday.
Who is blocking? That appears to be a continual issue in New York is the offensive line.
And remember when I said earlier that as these types of performances continue, that criticism coming from the quarterback who likes to point fingers, whether it's at the organizations itself or players in general.
Never himself.
That will end up, this now will, I think, speed up that process if it doesn't work. I mean, they needed something, but is this the answer?
Devontae Adams is probably going to be healthy, right? I think he was, wasn't he in a bodysuit or like a body bag?
And done anything.
And then like he'll walk into the Jets facility today and all spry.
Yeah. He'll have the strut.
Like
going.
gremlins when they come out of the cocoon and
the
just
Jets,
stretch out.
Well, the Jets have the best skill talent ever for a 7-win team.
Yeah.
Many people are calling the fan right now to pose that same question.
Yes. Like, seriously, like the way they used Breece Hall yesterday, too. You've got a legitimate dude at running back. And then, by the way, in goal line situation, let's give it to Braylon Allen.
What's their record? What's their record with those guys?
Collectively?
Well, not
or
good.
Or just right now, they're 2-4.
They're 2-4. Thank you.
Yeah.
And the offensive line is
not
good.
Okay.
Yeah. Kevin Mawai not walking through that door.
No.
He was good. He was really good.
Nick Mangold.
Oh, there he is.
All right, let's make this. Dudes naming New York Jet offensive lineman.
Oh, damn, offensive lineman, because I was going to throw in Carl Mecklin. Wait, no, that was a Denver Bronco.
That was a Denver defensive
lineman. Yeah, you're out.
Yep.
Buzz.
Mark Gastineau. Defense.
The sack exchange, yes.
Yeah, I'm really trying to think of the offensive line here.
Okay, I'm going to give you the Pat Sajak thing when people screw up on the Wheel of Fortune and they're like vowels and consonants.
Mm-hmm.
Jason Fabini.
Hey, you got to read the rules.
Yeah.
Okay, they're posted above.
I just got excited about naming old Jets, regardless of what position they played. Mark Gastineau.
Defensive lineman. Joe Klecko. Defensive lineman.
Oh, Joe Klecko, yeah.
New York Sack Exchange.
Marty Lyons. Abdul Salam.
God, what was the running back McNeil?
Freeman
McNeil.
He's good.
Yeah.
You chose Freeman McNeil over Curtis Martin?
Yeah, I did.
Wow,
Freeman
you are
McNeil.
old school.
I'm going way back.
Ken O'Brien or Vinny Testaverde?
Ken O'Brien.
Richard
Pat
Todd.
Ryan. Ooh. Pat Leahy.
I think it's more fun when you can just name old random Jets. Because other than Nick Mangold, I really don't think I could name an offensive lineman like a guy that was supposed to be a stud.
John Riggins, New York Jets great.
Joe Namath.
Who could forget Joe Namath?
Remember when
Babe Pirelli?
Remember when the guy that is the head coach of the Raiders, who was so over his head? Like, how many times does
Lane Kiffin?
the players being emotional and they say, "Hey, you should hire Antonio Pierce to run the Raiders"? Does that ever work out?
Yeah.
Remember last week when Antonio Pierce said he's got a good feeling Devontae Adams will come back to the Raiders?
Mm-hmm. As a Jet, might as well hire Paul.
Do the
Pierce
Jets and the
as
Raiders play this year?
They have to. Right?
Thank you, Josh. Altoon. Wayne Corbett.
Wayne Corbett. Yeah. Let's see.
So the ball's in your court. Come on, the clock is ticking.
55-year anniversary of the Heidi game.
There is an offensive lineman that I'm really missing out on here too. Brian McKinney was never a Jet, right? Viking. I don't think he was ever a Jet. Okay.
Erasmus James.
How about
Darrell Revis?
Yeah.
Boom.
There you go. Jimmy?
Revis Island.
Oh, I was just naming linemen. Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Ferguson.
I cannot come up with a lot of offensive linemen.
Great
for the
John
Jets.
Jumbo Elliott, part of that miracle comeback in 2000 on Monday night. But he's really a giant. He'll always be a giant to me.
I'll take two, and then we probably got to go to break here.
Okay.
Ryan Fitzpatrick,
Yep.
or some call him Fitzmagic.
Fitzmagic. Yep.
Thomas Jones.
Oh, that was he's always a Chicago Bear to me.
That's true.
Yeah.
Marshall Decker.
Oh, that's a good one. My turn.
You want me to stop?
No, you can keep going.
All right.
Ray Lucas.
Andrew Dyson.
Oh, that's another good one.
Jason Babin. Remember how good he was, pass rusher? That's probably about 10 years ago.
Who could forget Jets' great safety, Scott Frost?
Oh, good call.
He taught me. Comes back to Nebraska.
Good call. How about this? I'll give you one. This is my walk-off.
Okay. Oh, I got one.
Former Jets quarterback, Kevin O'Connell.
That's good. I want to also go quarterback and Bubby Brister. Bubby frickin' Brister, who actually kind of looked like Vinny Testaverde.
All right.
That's
I will see yours and go with Clark Gaines.
I'll see yours. Okay, someone's got to confirm this. Wasn't Brooks Bollinger with the Jets?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
But so was Keith Newbert and Johnny Mitchell.
Yep.
Oh yeah, you're right.
And
Yes.
Adrian Martinez.
How did we miss that?
Winning. Hey, scoring is winning.
That's a good walk-off.
This morning's. Well, I mean, you got Kerry Glenn. He's a lockdown cornerback. What about Burgess Owens?
Not Burgess Meredith.
Yeah, that's who I immediately thought of. Mickey?
Johnny Hector?
John Ebersol?
Jim Haslett.
What about Steve Tannen? He had a great card, football card.
Biff Tannen?
No. I'll see you. Really, really good player. Randy Rasmussen.
Yeah. Yes, played a long time.
Kyle Clifton.
Mickey Schuler, underrated tight end.
You still playing?
Darryl
Ray. Darryl Ray's football card. I remember this. So either safety or cornerback. His Topps football card back in the early 80s, they didn't have they weren't able to use the logos of the teams. So he had a generic green helmet.
Yes. I remember the Post baseball hats like that. Ooh,
Pat Leahy.
Ty Law.
Oh, there you go.
Brandon Marshall, baby.
Scott Durkin.
Brandon Marshall, people forget. Also a former Chicago Bear.
They forget about Matt Turk. I know that. Place kicker.
Greg Zurlin.
And here's another one. Former Jets wide receiver and return specialist, Tim DeWhite.
Oh, Timmy D. That's a good poll.
Happy Tuesday, everybody out there. And just remember that he wasn't just a Steelers legend. He also played for the Jets, James Ferrier. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. 1620 The Zone.
This week's Zone deal is Cops. Cops makes more than delicious pizza, serving steak, seafood, pasta, fresh salads, and tasty charred wings. Dine in, carry out, or deliver from Cops with 3 convenient locations in Omaha. With this week's deal, get $50 worth of vouchers for just $25. Listen with the Connor Happer Show all week to win $50 into Cops for free. On sale this Friday, October 18th, is when you can get that deal. October 18th at 9 a.m. under the deals tab at 1620thezone.com. And speaking of 1620thezone.com and our 4-quarter pick'em, big congratulations. Our Week 5 winner is Bob Rezak. Congratulations to Bob on the big win.
Was that from the Rezaks?
That's what I was wondering. I don't know.
It is not one of the sons.
Okay. Yeah. I figured it was one of the sons. Now, see, I went to school with they spell the same way, but it was Rezach.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a Czech population in this town.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's a Rezak or Rezach, but Bob,
I'm sure
you know who you are.
I'm sure I heard from DJ because this is West Side Prep Week.
Oh, there you go.
It's quite the rivalry. Hey, did the 2021 Packers win the Super Bowl?
No.
Not that I recall.
No, they did not.
So Rodgers, Adams,
Rams won.
Lazard, and Hackett all were together in the 21 Packers, and now they are reuniting with the 24 Jets.
It's true.
Back to our game that has become very, very popular across the interwebs.
Please play along with us.
So Zach Potter briefly was a New York Jet.
True.
But he was cut in 2009 because he was an undrafted free agent.
Mm-hmm.
And then he got cut, like the final cuts for the Jets. And then he got picked up by Jacksonville where, he was in the NFL for a few years. Zach's a good guy. I haven't had a ton of interaction with him. But I liked him on the post-game Big Red reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Why isn't he doing that anymore?
I don't know. I feel like
Zach was really, really good.
That might have been a Zach thing. Like maybe he didn't have enough time anymore. I'm not sure. I don't feel like Zach got pushed out of that role by any means. So yeah, I'm not really sure.
What's he doing? I liked him. Bring him back. What's Coney doing? Coney push him out?
Yeah, maybe. Coney said,
Banderas, Armstrong. Who else is doing that show? Corey Ross? Jay? Steve Taylor?
Name random guys that have not random
I just want
guys.
people to know that when we do Big Red Overreaction here at 1620 The Zone, you know who we are. We are staples. I'm going to do every road game. I'm going to do every tough game.
Yep.
And I have a terrible streak. Like with Big Red Reaction, the only thing that is constant is Coatney.
Yes.
That is just dudes naming random Huskers that can come in and host a post-game show. I miss Zach Potter. If anybody knows Zach, tell him that. I think Zach is really good on the radio.
Zach is awesome. Zach's a good dude. Zach used to do a lot of radio. He'd come on local shows quite a bit too.
He did. We have a lot of people listening to the stream because now we're getting filled with Johnny Mitchell stuff. Yeah. Eric Martin also played for the Jets.
Well, how did we forget Tim Tebow, by the way?
That's kind of easy. But you're right, Tim Tebow. Well,
Tim Tebow.
Well, see, we didn't have we tried to shorten the segment. We could have gone Brett Favre.
Well, also true. Yeah, there's some obvious ones in there. Lavernius Coles.
Ooh, I like that one. Good job.
Some good guys.
Yeah.
We have failed miserably on how this started with offensive line.
Yeah.
I think Josh might be a Jets fan, or he is a diehard old school NFL guy.
Okay.
Our kind of guy.
Who is one of the greatest offensive linemen ever to play for the Jets, who is in the Hall of Fame recently.
I feel like, yes, this is there was like an obvious one.
I'm going to be pissed, aren't I? Because I should know this.
Okay. Yeah, Rain Man over there.
Yeah.
You're really going to be pissed because he's one of the better offensive linemen that we've had in recent time.
Please tell me.
I might have to get up and walk out. I have a real bad feeling.
He was in there for 16 years, played at LSU.
Nope. It's not coming to me.
All-decade team.
Oh, this is getting worse.
Actually finished his career not with the Jets.
Is anybody else just scanning down the offensive line and just trying to see this
the
guy
Titans.
pop out? Oh, with the Titans?
Mm-hmm.
I already mentioned Kevin Mawai, and I think.
Okay. You did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
that's the guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because the last.
Jimmy Allen chimes in. You guys mentioned DeBrickashaw Ferguson. That's a great one.
That's the one I was actually thinking of.
Great
not
name.
Brian McKinney. Yes.
Shout out, Jimmy. Thank you.
DeBrickashaw Ferguson. That's the one I was trying to remember.
Andy Kennedy's going to join us here in a little bit.
See if he can name some Jets.
I bet he can.
Jericho Cotchery.
Another good one.
Yeah.
Rich Kotite. Boomer Esiason.
That's true.
Brownie Nagel.
No.
Embers Coslet.
Well, if you guys heard me too.
Scott
Jim
Shanley
Haslett
did
was.
not play for the Jets.
He was a saint.
There we go. We've reached the once a week his name gets brought up on the show.
Was there a question mark? Did it say Scott Shanley?
Marion Barber Jr., the father of the late great Marion Barber III.
I think we snuck that one in there, Jimmy. Please check the board.
Yep.
Okay.
He was mentioned.
That vowel has already been taken.
Mm-hmm.
This is from thanks to the Lego Maniac that saved this. We did not get to
Tomlinson, by the way, sorry.
Yeah.
How do we forget LT?
It's like we forgot about Tebow and Favre.
Yeah, I guess so.
Kurt Sohn.
Better days were before him.
Now it would be better if dudes just naming former Jet head coaches.
Like Joe Walton.
Robert Saleh. Dennis Dodd. I'm sorry. I don't want to see anybody lose their job. Okay. But I wonder what he was doing last night. Do you think he was shopping for Halloween candy while the Jets were playing, or do you think he watched the Jets game? Do you think he was sitting there on his pile of money?
Yeah. No, I bet he was invested into the game and he was still coaching him up on the TV screen, just like Rocky was in Rocky V, even though Tommy Gunn left him.
That was a horrible movie, by the way. I can't believe you brought up Rocky V.
But you know, you sometimes
Rocky V was god
I'll
awful.
sue.
Rocky V made the current Joker movie look good.
Did you see it, by the way?
No,
it's a musical.
I wanted to go.
It's a musical,
I wanted to
like,
go
nope.
see it. Then I was told it was a musical, and then I saw that it was just brutal. And it's already like out of the theaters.
Yeah. 4 people, including Gary, have told me how terrible it is in different walks of life.
Just shoved it right.
I was so excited. Sometimes at my age, when you are preparing and you get excited, and then it doesn't come through, that takes a long time to rally.
Yep.
Dennis Dodd tweets, breaking overnight, SEC Big Ten in preliminary talks to play a series of challenge non-conference games against each other that would further their primacy in FBS and stiff-arm private equity and Super League incursions. Well, you'd have to get the SEC to move to 9 conference games. That would help. But I like this idea.
Built in every year.
You said it was coming.
Hey, why not play 10 conference games, 1 game against the SEC, and then 1 against a Big 12 ACC group of 5? Or go 9-2-1, or go 9-1-2. Whatever you would like. Just don't call 911 if you don't have to. It's a little hat tip. Sometimes
it's good advice.
You watch Only Murders in the Building.
Sometimes you make a mistake and you're trying to dial in on a piece of equipment and you have to dial 9 to get out, and then you hit 1, and because you're old and you're forgetful, you think, have I dialed the 1 to get to 402? Weird things happen.
I would do this. I'm not judging.
Oh, I did it in Indianapolis. I was in my boxers doing a remote show. The police came. They knocked on the door
yes.
And they said, hey, are you okay? I said, hey, I'm doing fine. They said, can we come in your room and look around? I was like, oh, this is uncomfortable.
You're like, I actually prefer you didn't.
Sure, put on a headset.
It was.
But rest assured, I'm good.
Yeah, it was live on the air. Knock on the door. Indianapolis police.
Please tell me this was during Big Red overreaction.
No, it was like a regular show.
In his boxers doing overreaction.
Well, then I stopped. Like I put pants on now.
That's good. Because just in case.
Well, I mean,
you learned your lesson.
You never know where that camera's going to fall.
You should have heard my interview when he and Damon were asking if I was wearing pants.
Yeah, you told me about that. I remember that.
It was off a discussion of mascots that don't wear pants. I think producers should wear pants. But what do I know?
Yeah.
Lou Holtz is another one that's been added to the list by Clint. Thank you very much.
It's true. Wow. He had a fight song for the Jets.
We love the Jets around here.
That is true.
Love the Jets.
We should become an affiliate. It'll go over well.
Mike Satter's got to be pumped.
They're 2-4.
Hey, but he got Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
Here comes the comeback, baby.
Great. We're going to be able to get to the 20-yard line.
See, I love that reaction right there.
Hey.
I'm all about. See, I have nothing against the Jets until Aaron Rodgers got there. Now I'm all about them failing.
Which they've done forever.
I know, but he wasn't a part of the team last year because of that injury. Now I want to see him go down with a sinking ship.
Jets were 3-3 this time last year. Zach Wilson was the quarterback.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know. Maybe call the fan. Bring that up to him. Andy Kendi will stop by next on 1620 The Zone. All right, our next guest has seen the board. He knows the rules. Andy Kendi is here to name his random jet. Good morning.
Good morning, boys. I don't know if I know the rules or have seen the board, but I caught like half of the last segment. So we're just naming random jets.
Yeah, we're playing name random jets.
And boy, did we name some random ones.
How about John Maynard? Anyone got Don?
No.
There we go.
Yeah.
Wasn't John Riggins a jet?
Jimmy did announce him. Yep.
Okay, how about Ernest Boozer, Wesley Walker, Wayne Krebet?
Emerson
Boozer. We got the Wayne Krebet one.
Right.
Hey, you know why I remember Wesley Walker? Because he was a common in trading cards in the top set.
Yeah. The commons. Oh, those damn commons.
Absolutely. And somebody talked about Altoon, right?
Oh, yeah. That was one of the first mentioned. Yeah.
George Sauer.
Altoon.
Hey, you're in that industry with your brother. Do they still refer to the card, the same player you seem to get in every other pack as commons?
Oh, heck yeah.
Yep.
The commons are I have stacks of commons I'm looking at right now. The Lucas Sims of the world, the Luis Garcias.
Okay.
You let me know the Carson Spires. Let me know what you need, and I got them.
I could never trade my damn commons. They're like, no, that's a common. Oh, come on, man.
Yeah, give me that mantle that was in your bike post. How about that?
Yeah.
Hey, so one of the the storyline amongst many this weekend in Bloomington is, what do we know about Indiana? They're 6-0. They played who they played. They played their schedule, and they're unbeaten. So hat tip to them, and there's some excitement. I mean, nobody before the year thought that, man, there might be a national pregame show in Bloomington for this game. But there is. So we say, how good is Indiana? 5-1. How good or how much do you know about Nebraska?
That's a great question. I know that they haven't put together a 4-quarter game yet, and I think that's what Husker fans are hoping comes this Saturday. And I think the one thing they can hang their hat on is that their defense is solid and it has evolved and isn't the same sort of defense it was on opening day. That they have learned to adjust because I think people have adjusted to them. I think the defense and quarterback will keep you in almost every game, which is something I don't think you could have said in years past. And I think we know that. Now, what we don't know if they can get this running back run game going. And we don't know, how not only wide receivers will fare, but how the quarterback will fare in under a national microscope, which will be this week. Because, going to Purdue is one thing and winning on the road is one thing. Okay, that's great. But, you got some attention on you now. You're playing a ranked team. There's going to be some eyeballs on you from coast to coast. So are you able to step up and meet that challenge? And I think that's the thing that I don't know yet. But I got the sense yesterday, boys, that Matt Rule felt pretty good about his team and pretty confident going in. So that's body language and presentation. He seemed to be a coach that knows something that we don't, and he can't wait to show it Saturday.
Hey, given the significance of the special teams and how it's looked to this point, his confidence with what he hopes it'll look like going forward. You mentioned a 4-quarter game. Can we introduce, even if, say, Nebraska got shut out in the third quarter, but they had solid special teams play, can that be part of a complete game look for Nebraska, given what they need to look like in all three phases?
I think so. I mean, for what we've seen, I mean, let's be honest, boys. The bar right now for special teams is pretty low, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just do the basics. Hit a 35-yard field goal. If you're in position, when it was interesting when they were having all those issues at Purdue and they finally scored that touchdown with Banks at the back of the end zone. I kind of looked at Sean Callahan sitting next to me and I go, do they go for 2 here? I mean, that was where it was at, right? So let's get away from that point where that's even a question. Like if you're in that range of the 30 to 40 and you take that off the table because you're going to kick it, because in these games going forward, these last 6, well, minus the UCLA game, which, on paper seems like to be a one-sided affair. But these 5 of the last 6, it seems like these could be one-score games that every point's going to matter. So you better get those special teams fixed. And, Matt Rule seems very confident. I don't know how much that confidence was just building up his guys because he knows that, he's a lot of times he speaks through us and that's cool and rightfully so. And, or does he really truly believe that, I think they got something in this bye week. I hope it's the latter because, obviously that's going to be huge, paramount going forward. Because, there's a team right now at 5-1. You got 6 left, 4 on the road. Can they get to 8? Yeah, maybe. Can they get to 9? I don't know, but you better get to 6, right? You better get to 6. That's first.
Do we just take for granted that DR15 will be cooking again on Saturday after a lesson learned against Rutgers?
The doctor, right? DR?
Mm-hmm.
The doctor. I think people do take it for granted, and which is interesting because, how many freshmen would you say that? After you looked at what he did against Rutgers and how at times puzzled it looked out there, was not the same picture that we saw from the quarterback position in the first couple games. But I think he's a guy that, that was for the first time. It was for the first time this season and in his college career that, Dylan looked like a freshman for an extended period of time. He had some lapses against Illinois, but this was the first game against Rutgers that he really did kind of have some freshman moments. And I will say that everything leading up to this game has lent the notion that he's going to bounce back and he'll be fine. And, part of that's the blocking, part of that's the receivers getting open, and part of that's the run game to help him out. Because that's the other thing, fellas. If you get that run game going by the running backs, it's going to open everything up. And that's something that they haven't had just yet. And you'd love to see somebody actually hit a home run. We've got a lot of singles, a lot of doubles, maybe a double here and there, but not a lot of home runs from the running game. And I think they really, really need that on Saturday.
Play the what if this time next week if Nebraska has defeated Indiana, what it's like and what the narrative about Nebraska is.
Whew. If they win, well, I think the narrative is that they got a puncher's chance at Ohio State. I think I looked at I think one of the guys had the line of 23.5 at Ohio State already because they don't play this week. So, I think, one, it's a sense of relief because the Nebraska qualified for a bowl if they win this Saturday. That will be one major goal and check mark off the list. But two, I think that would give them confidence that not only you can end the whole they haven't beaten a ranked team since 2016. That whole notion goes away, and then you take your chances with Ohio State. The one thing I think that this team has, and I think will serve them well down the stretch, is their physicality. If they can stay and be the more physical team, I think that will play a role this Saturday, and I think that will play a role in a handful of games going down the stretch because, you kind of saw what happened last weekend on the bye week. The more physical team usually wins, and I think that's going to serve them well going down the stretch.
Hey, what do you think this atmosphere is going to be like? The game is sold out. Fox's pregame show is there. Fox's number one crew is there. Indiana is just kind of like, well, we're supposed to be a basketball school, and we're still talking football middle of October. What do you think Nebraska and Nebraska fans are walking into in Bloomington?
That's a great question. They've only been there once since joining the Big Ten. That was the 2016 Stanley Morgan, Tommy Armstrong late connection to ice that thing. That was an ABC game. Back when you were in Nebraska on ABC, that was fun. Yeah, I do remember that game vividly because in the press box before the game, they weren't playing the pregame shows. They were showing the Indiana basketball scrimmage that was going on at the time. So it will be an interesting atmosphere because it is a school that is that obviously leans towards basketball. I don't know, they've had some flashes, some moments of success football-wise, but it has not been sustained, and it will be unusual to have this much attention on their football program. Will it be a packed house? Will it be a Rutgers packed house, or will it be a packed house? Right? Will all the fans be in the stands come game time? And I'll be interested to see because it's a unique stadium. I wouldn't call it a huge home field advantage, but obviously, if that team gets into it, and it certainly could be. And I'm interested to see how many Nebraska fans get in their cars and go to Bloomington because this is one of those bucket lists. For all those fans who try to get to every Big Ten stadium, they haven't been to Bloomington in 8 years and this is a chance. So I'll be interested to see what that will be like. And we're staying in Indianapolis, and I think Oregon plays at Purdue on Friday night. So
yeah, they do.
It's going to be an interesting weekend down there in Indianapolis. So hopefully all goes well. And I never underestimate the power of Husker Nation, and I believe that they will show their presence, make their presence felt on Saturday.
I certainly believe that as well. Hey, safe travels to you out there. Looking forward to your coverage beginning on Friday.
Thanks, boys. Have a good week.
That's Andy Kendi. 52,000 is all it seats. Bloomington's a good college town. There's some good spots to drink and eat.
It is.
I'm sure maybe they have an open gym.
Yeah,
get a workout.
No. So like when the parents owned Iowa season tickets, we would go and you'd be able to go over to Carver Hawkeye before the football game, and they would be having pickup games.
Oh, okay.
Or they'd be having like organized scrimmages. So maybe you sneak into Assembly Hall.
It's not. It wasn't hard to do during the Big Ten baseball tournament.
Last time Nebraska was here, Nebraska basketball beat Indiana. Just saying.
I just remember those signs that Bobby Knight had that says it's closed practice on the doors. So I wonder, has he gotten rid of those, or is it still closed practices? I don't know. All I know is during the Big Ten baseball tournament, it was super easy to sneak into Assembly Hall. We did.
Well, I think there'll be at least 10,000 there. Could be more.
Yeah.
It should be a beautiful day for football and interesting game. We'll talk about it more coming up tomorrow. Today is coordinator day down in Lincoln. And we'll pick a new NFL team to name random players off that team coming up when we join you in 20 hours.
Dig it.
Crossover's coming up next. We'll